Okay, guys, here we go. It's episode 5 already of the Dirty Right Rear podcast. Myself, Jeremy Booyer again, Jeremy Sutton again, and we got a banger this week. It's going to be full of information. Banger. I can say all kinds of stuff this week. We ain't got kids on here, so I can get back to...
You ain't got Megan.
No, Megan made me some rules for Tank and... or for Brody.
For Brody, yeah.
I couldn't say some stuff, so I had to kind of skip out on that.
But I know you want to say it. What do you, now that she's not here, what do you...
She works at Titty City.
Titty City?
She works at Titty City, man, and I couldn't say that, but I mean, now I guess I can. I made the whole thing, so it was okay, but I didn't want to say that, and I didn't want to talk about throwing panties all over everybody's cars and stuff like that, but I guess we can do all that now, but... That's about it. Well, I guess we actually don't have hardly anything recap from last week that we forgot, which was crazy.
We didn't mess something up. It only took 4 weeks.
Yeah, every week we've kind of recapped something, but I was a little sick last week, and I noticed after I listened to it that you hear me sniffing there about 100 times. So that was kind of crappy. But other than that, I mean, everything went pretty good. I got a little backlash on the whole football deal, or not really football, just all sports. You know, I blasted on Central, which is the local team around here, you know, a little bit. And back in my day, they went defeated in about every sport they had. And, you know, now they're pretty good because I made fun of them because they play all these schools that have 11 kids at it and everything. And so they beat all these. But back in long time ago, supposedly they were pretty good. So up at Unitech, you know, Billy Smith works up there in auto body, and he was telling me some of the teachers were razzing on him and saying some stuff about, I listened to that podcast and man, he said Central sucked and this and that. And I didn't really say that, but I mean, they did at the time. But also, he's like, he must not remember when we were in there talking about Billy, you know, and I think it was John Jones in the welding.
John Jones, okay.
Welding teacher, or whatever. He was like, Billy, you need to set him straight and tell him, you know, back in our day, it was, you know, we wanted all this. So I went to the local library and I was looking up like the archives on, you know, the records on all the stuff from when Billy and John were in school. And I mean, I was going through the 60s and the 70s and stuff like that. And they don't go back that far. So I couldn't even look up that to see if John was even true. When him and Billy were in school in the 60s and 70s, there wasn't really any record of that. And I didn't even know they played football back then or wore helmets. I mean, they probably had that leather thing and wiener cups on their ear and shit like that. But so John wanted me to look that up and make sure that I said that, you know, they were good back then, but I couldn't find it because it was so far, you know.
I didn't realize Billy was that old, man. Yeah. And here he calls me grandpa.
No, he's pretty old. I believe he is. We went and ate the other day. I don't remember where we were at, and he gets the discount.
Senior
citizens, yeah, he gets that.
So he ain't Billy the middle-aged kid anymore?
He's Billy old dad. But, I mean, we called him old when we used to throw parties in his garage and tear up all Van's stuff. But
man, I thought of that on Christmas Eve.
Yep.
And Billy didn't have a party this year, which I know he hasn't for several years, but I thought, man, that's weird.
He'll break a hip now, so he's not in. But yeah, I don't remember exactly when, but I looked up all over and I couldn't find anything. So sorry, John, but I couldn't see that you guys won games in the 60s.
All right, so you want to get on with episode 5 today?
Get on with it, man.
We got a bunch of guys coming on here. We're going to unveil the schedule for Coles County and the WFO Micro Series shortly. So buckle up. Should be a fun episode. We do want to take a minute and thank our sponsor of the Dirty Right Rear podcast, Paul Clark with Clark Salvage, located off of Sims Road and Park Hills, off of B Highway in Park Hills. It is Missouri's largest U-Pull junkyard. Paul has over 35 acres of cars with new cars arriving daily. You can check out Clark Salvage on Google or Facebook or call 636-232-3795. They are open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, Saturday, 8 to 12.
Also, I got one more thing. I forgot about it. Over Expert Graphics, he made our new deal. Andy Moss over there, he did make me some stickers to take down to the shootout with me. So
heck yeah.
I got to give him another shout out. And I know we'll probably mention him a bunch anyway because he does all our stuff or whatever. And he knocked out about 7 cars in 2 weeks. So that was pretty good. But yeah, if you need anything done over there, powder coating or graphics, any kind of vinyl stuff, Andy Moss over at Expert
Let's take a minute to thank our sponsor of the Dirty Right Rear podcast, Paul Clark with Clark Salvage, located on Sims Road off of B Highway in Park Hills. It is Missouri's largest U-Pull junkyard. New cars arriving daily and over 35 acres worth of cars. You can check out Clark Salvage on Google or Facebook or call 636-232-3795. They are open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, Saturday, 8 to 12. All right, we're back here on the Dirty Right Rear podcast. We got full set here. Everybody want to introduce themselves? Tell who you are. We'll start with you, Tyler.
Tyler Robbins. I semi-amateur professional race car driver. And then I got teamed up with these two guys and started the WFO. So that's kind of my gambit right now. So Can't race forever, so I joined up with these two guys.
Rick Miller, retired logistics guy. Not so much retired anymore, it appears.
Brian Rieck. I'm just like these other guys. I'm an old washed-out racer, and get to join up and make a good series with Rick and Tyler.
All right. So we're going to kind of bounce all over the place here, but tell us about, we're going to do some personal stuff and some stuff on the WFO. Tell us about your racing career, Tyler.
Oh, man.
In a nutshell.
Yeah. Long story short, started racing in 92. Started quarter midgets. Did quarter midgets till 99. That was when I got my first micro. Started it making Jacksonville, Do Run, Farmington, just getting laps. We ran micros pretty hot and heavy till I think 07 when we got our first midget. Kind of got away from the micros. Ran midgets for not a long time, but a decent amount of time until it just got to where you needed a pretty good acronym and TRD or SR11 to run, and that's just above our tax bracket. But then this guy wrote me back into micros of all people, and I bought a car and just started racing micros again. And then that was whenever you could run Belleville on Fridays and Highland on Saturdays. So
right.
It was tough to not be able to race two tracks 20 minutes from home. So got back in and started racing micros, and have just kind of stuck with it. I still got my midget. And a couple of 2 years ago, I think I ended up with a sprint car. I ended up buying a guy out. It was a car I drove for a guy 5 or 6 years ago, and then he'd passed away, and his wife calls me and she's like, "You want to buy a sprint car operation?" And I'm like, "Absolutely not." And she said, "Well, I don't know who to sell it to. I don't know where to post it. I don't know anything about it." So she's like, "I want to get rid of everything." And when I say everything, it was everything. It was the trailer, the quad, the pit box, cars, motors, spares, everything. And he called my dad and he said, "You want to split this deal with me?" And we did. And so we got a couple sprint cars now. But micro racing's always been my passion. I'll debate it with anyone that it's the most, I shouldn't say most economy-driven racing, but it's tough to buy. You can't buy a sprint car motor on eBay. You can't buy a midget motor on eBay. You can buy these motors on eBay, go A-class racing, or give it to Joe B at Speed Shack and have him build you a beast of a power plant and come race. So that's kind of my deal. And like I said earlier, I know I'm not going to race forever, so I want it to be around for my two kids. And micro racing's just kind of my my niche. I know I like it. I feel like I'm good at it. And if I hurt a motor, my wife's not talking me off a bridge. So, but yeah, you meet a lot of cool people in racing. A lot of neat things happen, and I'm, like I said earlier, I'm lucky enough that I teamed up with two really good guys that have the same passion for it as me. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Rick, tell us about your racing background.
Oh boy. Well, I was kind of a middle tier motocross guy in the late 70s and early 80s, and then figured out pretty soon that that really wasn't going to pay the bills. So got a career, moved on, and fast forward to whenever Joe B was about 9 or 10 years old, we got him a motocross bike. 1 week later, my lifelong friend Lance McKinney said, dude, he's not going to end up like us. He's not motocrossing. He's going to go racing with 4 wheels and a cage. The next week, he showed up with a cage cart. We took it out, went to Do Run, and beat our brains out for a while. And then whenever it come time to move up, well, Lance was working for he was crewing for Brad Loyette. Well, Brad was moving out of micros up into the midget deal, so Joe Loyette was kind enough to fix us up with his micro program, and I got all his leftover stuff, and we put it all together and raced for a few years, and then we've had some success in micros as you go along, and then I kind of helped Joe B get into the midget thing. I was briefly a midget owner, and I found out really quick that you can own a midget and they can fall apart in the trailer on the way to the track. So I got rid of that thing pretty quick. Got a couple sprint cars, and then by then Joe B was well on his way. I sold all my stuff out, and he's got his operation going. And so I just kind of bummed around and worked on the race cars for a little while. And then this opportunity came up with WFO, and I'm a huge fan of Wing Outlaw Micros. I think you can't get any more bang for your buck than you can with these things, man. I mean, competition-wise, and yeah, they're expensive, but try going Wing Outlaw sprint car racing. These things are
Right.
really competitive, really cost-effective, and but I wasn't satisfied where the state of Wing Outlaw Micros was at, and I had retired. Now I've been retired for 1.5 years, and I thought, you can either complain about the state of micro racing, or you can get off your ass and do something about it. So I teamed up with these guys, and I feel like we've got things going pretty well. So we made some big strides last year. I think everybody's going to be more than happy with what we got to present this year for WFO.
All right.
Was Joe B's first micro, was that the famous 55? Did he ever drive that?
He did drive that,
Blue.
and that was his first micro, and that was Lance McKinney's car.
Did they?
It's actually still in the loft at Speed Shack.
Oh, nice.
Really?
I never even paid attention when I go down there. But I remember Lance used to unload it out of the back of a box trailer, smoke everybody, and go home.
Out the back of the cookie truck.
Yeah.
And he had the guy with the 250 that would come with him. Didn't he? Yeah.
I don't remember,
I don't remember his name either.
Zip.
Zip. All right.
I don't remember Joe B in a go-kart. Did he run it at Do Run?
He ran it at Do Run a little bit. We raced it at Toka. We ran at Blodgett quite a bit, and then there was some fair races and stuff around. But he ran it for a little while, yeah.
Okay. Brian, tell us about yourself and your background in racing, how you got in it. I hear you've won a feature before at Farmington, so we want to hear that story.
Yeah. Actually, interestingly enough, my story kind of started out a little bit like Rick's. That actually I didn't know that. So I started out in motocross. Actually, I should back up. I never really raced. That was my plan. Had a buddy of mine get hurt real bad and broke his collarbone. That was the end of my motocross career. But as far as racing goes, I mean, gosh darn, I've raced cars all different kinds my whole life with through my dad, and we raced a lot with Ron Milton back in the day. We the micros back then they were the 250s, so we started there, and then we ran those for 7-8 years. Took a break from racing probably a couple years, come back running open wheel modifieds, sprint cars, midgets. Never really stayed in one car, never really had a career in anything, just would basically just drive whatever I could get my hands on. So same thing, man. I'm getting older, and you still have the urge to drive, but that doesn't always work out. So this is really the next best thing is to be involved in a series. So
since you've drove a handful of things and everybody keeps blasting me about the whole modified deal, if you drove the modified, how different is that than the other stuff?
Oh, it's way different.
Because everybody says when you drive that modified, you don't even want to drive anything else because it's awful.
It's bad.
It's hard.
I mean, the modifieds they're just so much to them. You know, I mean, there's an adjustment on literally everything, and
Right.
you know, they drive weird, they steer funny. You're driving with your throttle. I mean, that's most race cars, but I
Yeah.
mean, it's really you're really driving with the throttle in a modified. So I had a lot of fun doing it. You know, and it was good racing, but like these fellas said, I mean, micro sprint racing is hands down, you know, the best race cars I've ever. Well, outside of a midget, I mean, micros are definitely the best.
I've told anybody I could the last few years, you don't find better racing, in my opinion, than wing micro or non-wing for that matter either. I feel that the wing micro or the micro is the best racing to watch, in my opinion.
Well, and a lot of people that don't know about it just because they're like, well, I watch them. I used to go to Farmington every week and watch them.
Right.
And I'm like, that's different. That
yeah.
we were a fill-in. That was a fill-in class because we
Right.
brought 20-something cars
Right.
and
It's a
paid
super
us
speedway.
$250.
Yep.
And I said, yeah, it sucked out there. I mean, it didn't suck. I mean, everybody would still go there if they did it. But I'm saying people are talk about that, but they've never been and watched the hustle beating down the wall
Right.
or a couple of the Coles County races this year with the cushion up like crazy. I mean, our old school Belleville where insane stuff. And when you go to there, you would almost watch the micros before you watch everything else. And then
Right.
people don't understand half of the lap times are as good or faster
Right.
than anything else. Because when we timed in, actually, you were fat quick time.
Yeah, I
if
was
you don't
thinking
remember
about
this,
no, I was thinking about this on the
sprint
way
cars
down.
at Farmington. We were like,
I think the All Stars or something was there or something.
0.2 of a second was a micro, and it
Yeah.
don't look like that because they're so small at Farmington.
Right.
But he was. I remember that exactly
Yeah,
because
I was
he was the
thinking about that on the
quick
way down
time,
here.
which is probably still track record because we only did it
Yeah,
few times,
one
yeah.
few times.
Yeah.
So that's it. But yeah, they were like 0.2 off of the sprint car, which I know everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, that's bullshit, man." But
we just never lifted though.
you just all you do is drive it. I mean, so it was
Yeah.
easy, but and it didn't feel as fast because it was so small and it don't look like it from the stands. But
Right. Yeah.
you know,
No, I was.
So while we're talking about Farmington, and I want to bring Do Run into this too, since we are kind of based out of the Farmington area, guys. Do you have any memories of racing Farmington and Do Run? I mean, you don't obviously have to tell a bunch of memories, but do you have anything that sticks out?
So whenever I was running, we would always run Do Run Friday and then Farmington Saturday, and we got to know the Do Run. I mean, Jeremy probably knows the Do Run Fire Department wasn't always fans of Derek Odell and I, but felt like everybody in that dang fire department raced. But we finally got to know Sherman, Tank's dad, and Mark Dotson, Matt Dotson's dad, and we would race Friday at Do Run, and then Mark would let us keep our trailer at his John Deere dealer, I
Yep.
think.
Mhm.
Yeah, he'd let us keep our trailer there, and we would run Farmington on Saturday. And like Jeremy said, it was like a super speedway for us on the micros. But I mean, I'm sure we'll dive into this later, but it was like I felt like me and Derek and Casey Barnhouse and. You know, I mean, all the guys I raced with are now I'm racing against some of their kids, you know, but,
Right.
you know, like Kent Buckley and Joey and Tommy Boyd, none of those guys, you know, they're kind of all, and I see, I think Mark's grandson's Trip. I see them every now and then. They had a junior sprint. But,
Right.
I won a few races at Farmington. I also had I know this will probably come up later, one of my worst crashes was there because we were flying there, and, I was leading the feature, and we always ran after the sprint cars because we were like one of the last classes. But it kind of curbed up, like getting into 3 there, and something in the rack broke in my car, and it just turned the wheels right, and I kind of like clipped that curb that the sprint cars made, and it just kind of launched me airborne, and like I nosed right into the wall, and it like knocked our frame over like 3.5 inches. I mean, it was not a fun night, but no, I liked racing there. Being a fan of sprint cars, I was always a fan of watching Timmy Montgomery race there, and because he was always really cool to watch. He's super smooth, but he was fun. I liked going there, so it to me always Do Run was cool because it was small, compact. You learned how to race, and then Do Run was like wide open and
Right.
see what happens. You know? So
I remember those days you guys would go to Do Run and Farmington, there would be 35, 40 cars a night.
Oh, absolutely,
You'd have a
yeah.
C-main, and
there was so many cars back then. It was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of cars. So.
And it was just people that you wouldn't even. I mean, like he talked about Kent and all them, and then Loyette, ran there for a while.
Brad and Joe
You'd always have people show up with different stuff, and I mean, it was awesome, man. And that's where I got my feature wins too, by the way.
I remember that. Yeah. What about you guys? Tell us about your memories of Farmington and or Do Run.
Well, Do Run's where, I honestly never, you know what, I'll take that back. I did race a micro. I raced the old blue 55. And my micro claim to fame is Joe B never lapped me. I raced it 4 times at Do Run.
Yeah.
So,
not a lot of people that can say that.
Right.
He got close, and I got saved by a yellow flag one time. So. But
and he's like, I'm going to lap dad. I got to lap dad.
I was probably going to get a dirty right rear.
Man, that would have been a good question.
Yeah. But, so, and then I never raced at Farmington at all, but, Farmington's got a lot of memories where that's where I learned to hate Ronnie Milton. But then later in life, I got to be friends with Ronnie Milton, and before he passed away, thankfully, I really learned what he was all about, and he's a great dude. But, man, oh, man. You couldn't dislike anybody worse than Ronnie Milton when he was at Farmington.
It's funny because life kind of circles around. I used to hate Brad Loyette. Never knew the guy. I just knew what I seen of him in a micro. He'd come in and spank everybody's butt. And I was like, man, that spoiled rich kid. And then about 10 years later, we become pretty good friends. So it's funny how that life circles around.
Oh, it does. It does.
Somebody, you don't know them, but then like once you actually take a moment to know them, they're like, hey, this guy's just like anybody else, we become pretty good friends over racing and, so it's neat how that works out.
Yeah, it certainly is. There was, and there's a few guys like that, but I mean, really watching Tommy Worley and Timmy Montgomery and, those guys really do their thing there. And, we didn't race sprint cars there a lot. We, once we got up and going and we made the decision to go on the road and really try to expose ourselves to different competition weekly. Right. So we didn't race there near as much as like Tyler and those guys did.
Yeah. It's kind of paid off, going on the national scene and Midwest scene, whatever you want to call it, because anytime you show up at the gates now, Joe B, he's a threat to win, no matter what he's in.
Yeah, no matter what he's in, yeah.
He's kind of dominated the Queens Royal, 3 years in a row now?
Yeah, got three in a row now.
Yeah, that's impressive.
That's they sneak up on you. It's like, man, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, which we plan to get Joe B on sometime after the Chili Bowl, so we won't talk a whole lot about him. Brian, you got any? You did tell me you want to feature at Farmington. You got any other memories, or let's hear about that?
Really, Farmington. What I remember, and this was several years ago. Back in, I think we started running probably 88. 87, 88, we would, back then it was Jacksonville. Everybody run Jacksonville, and they'd run down to Farmington, and that was just a gig. So we ran. So I did. From what I understand, I won the first 250 micro sprint race at Farmington.
Okay.
Which I think is pretty. No, dude, right? I was thinking about that on the way over here, and so we did. I mean, we were grabbing gears, but. You had mentioned, I think you got 250 for your prize. We got it. So when I won that race, I got a free meal and a hotel room at what was that hotel that everybody stayed
I think it was Tradition Inn. Yeah.
And that, that was some of my best memories of Farmington. I mean, we were all out in the parking lot working on race cars and
that was when I was about 92 is when I really started getting a dirt track racing. My grandpa, we'd go through town every Saturday to see who was at Tradition Inn, to see who was in town. This guy's going to be there tonight. That guy. I miss those.
That was the good old days, man.
That was the good old days.
Yeah. Now you just drive around Farmington and Park Hills and you'd be like, yep, they're coming.
Right?
Hopefully we can change that, though, man. We got to get some more people in the seats and more cars out there. I mean, I know it's expensive, but we got to help out. At least maybe we can get one person to go.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about DuQuoin indoor race that you had 2 weeks ago. I know Tyler was there.
Yeah.
Was Brian Rieck? You guys go?
Yeah, man. Forgot about that.
Neither one of them guys were there.
I was at PRI.
Okay. All right. Tell us, how did that go, Tyler?
The midget went terrible. The whole point of me going to DuQuoin is always to run our midget and shake it down and see if we're going to have any problems. And we had some problems, but handling wise, it just wasn't right. And I started taking my micro to places, just because that's where I can feel confident that I can still drive somewhat. And then I always get my teeth kicked in the midget or the sprint car especially. But but the micro, the heat race, the start was bad. I started outside front row, and I think the guy on the pole started in the middle of the backstretch, and they didn't call it back, but we're kind of the support class, so Kenny's moving the show along, so I get it. I didn't like it, but I got it. Yeah. And then we ended up third, so I think I started 15th or 17th in the feature. Had to be 15th because they locked in 16, and it's kind of picked my way through. And I didn't really think that the last lap, me and Max, I guess, got together, and I guess he thought I moved him pretty good. I mean, my only rebuttal to it would really be if I moved him that well, obviously it wasn't good enough because he was able to drive right back to my rear bumper. I mean, he when you asked him what was the dirtiest thing he's ever done, he didn't shy away from it. He said that was it. So I didn't really, I didn't think that what I did to him was near that bad, but when you're 15 years old, you're 10 foot tall and bulletproof, Right. So, yeah. But it was just one of those things. Anybody that knows me knows that I'm usually a pretty calm and cool and collected person, and I lost my stuff just because I'd passed 9-10 cars and didn't really, and even he says that he was protecting, which that's another way to say I was blocking my ass off, in my opinion. But he'd ran the car in front of us into the infield the previous lap, I think, and just we took the white, and he kind of left we were all on the berm. It was a one lane on the bottom, not fun, but I didn't really think I moved him, but like I said, it wasn't good enough if it was, 'cause he got right back to me and just blatantly took me out, and I got out, and unlike Jeremy said, I'm not going to throw my helmet. Them things are way too damn expensive.
Yeah, I asked him what kind of steering wheel he's seen come at him, but do you have an MPI or is it a Joe's?
Hell no. That steering wheel's older than he is.
Okay.
It's like a 20-incher, isn't it?
It is, right? It's actually Derek Odell's old sprint car steering wheel from way back in the day.
I was like, Tyler's older, so I don't see him throwing an MPI.
Hell no.
He goes, no, it was something else. And I said, okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah. No, I there's a lot of things that guys buy to make you go faster, and I can't justify a $200 steering wheel to.
Right.
It's not going to make me go any faster. I can almost buy a tire for that.
We should see if we can get a hold of that. I don't know his name. You know the guy at the Dome that ran across the front stretch and
jumped on the car.
Yeah, we should get him and Tyler in a foot race. See who's best. Who did it best?
Yeah. Oh. That guy should have super shepped onto the hood.
I thought he was going to.
That would have.
That dude was so winded. His heart was probably about to cry. He was a big dude.
He was a big boy.
He was running, what am I going to do when I get down here?
Yeah. I would have just sat. I would have pulled up a chair and just been like, hey man, let's talk about this real quick. Catch my breath.
Yeah. And then like I said, I don't really hold any hard feelings, and I told Jeremy, I said I should have thought about it because I do represent these two guys, and
that stuff happens, man.
It does, and my dad doesn't own a business though, so I'm not gonna be like some of them kids and be like I'm just gonna get him back because I don't want to wreck my race car, right? I got to put it back together or whatever, and I represent a lot of great people that believe in me and give me support, and I don't want to crash my race car. Bumper. I looked at the pay difference, and I guess he needed that $10 more than I did. But it is what it is. I hope and this This is the funniest part of that whole deal. I was literally loading up because I drove to the track by myself. Met my dad and my brother there, and my buddy Matt that helps us. And I was driving home, and I stopped at that Moto Mart outside of DuQuoin. And I was telling Rick this, and I'll be damned if him and his dad and his other two buddies didn't walk in like. Right
was they wearing the white shoes?
I don't know. I wasn't paying attention to their shoes, but it was kind of funny because Max walked in and just went straight to the right to the drink cooler, and I really didn't even know what he looked like. I've talked to his dad a few times, but I don't strike myself as an intimidating person. But they didn't want to, and I was, I'm not gonna have any word at that point. I'd calm down and but no, it was they just kind of went along their business, and I went along mine. And
we talked about it. We talked with him about it. I don't think they give a shit about it anymore either.
Yeah,
I mean,
we've all did this long enough. You're going to have those run-ins, and
it's not going to be the last time it happens.
Absolutely not. And where he's going to race this coming week, he's not the only one that's going to be aggressive like that. You got to be.
You got to be. Yep.
And I've always just paid my own bills, so I had to be more calculated with how I passed people, but it is what it is.
We had to bring it up. We had you on here, and I want to get both sides. And
exactly, there's three sides to every story: my side, his side, and truth. So
we've heard it all now.
Yeah.
So.
I usually am the one that comes in, tells the truth about it all.
Yeah. I bet. All right, you guys ready to get on WFO stuff?
Sure, Rip.
All right, Rick, we're going to start with you. What is the WFO mission?
The WFO mission is to bring Wing Outlaw Micros back to relevance. I mean, it's as simple as that. We're going to do whatever it takes to make this happen. We're putting our time in, and we're pouring everything back into the racers, and that's ultimately what it amounts to. That's our mission.
What's your long-term goal with WFO? Have you thought that far ahead, or?
No, we really haven't talked even about a long-term goal. I know you're supposed to and whatnot, but I mean, we spent the first year putting a foundation together and putting our sponsor group together. We went out and middle of the year, we changed our format. Really, I feel like that was a game changer. Nobody in micro world's doing that.
Why don't you go ahead, because I'm not super familiar. What is your format? Why don't you go ahead and explain that to everybody?
It's kind of a modified extreme format, an old All-Stars type deal. But so we pill draw for heat race, and then we hot lap qualify for your starting position in your heat race. We decided to do that after Brian's dad's race at Coles. And some guys had just drawn terrible pills, and these guys were pretty good shoes, and they just got hung up, man.
Right.
And didn't make the show. I mean, they were stuck in the bees, and so it was like, that's just, you just don't want the pill draw to dictate your entire weekend.
Right.
So let's pill draw for the heat race, and then let's let you get out there and show your stuff for 3 laps. And we give you the opportunity by, depending on the size of the track, putting 4 or 5 on the track at a time, spreading them out. And if you're worthy, you get out there and lay it down, and then we do a 4 invert.
Okay.
And then you race for passing points from that point
okay.
going forward.
Yeah, that's a good format.
Yeah. We were just running into where, like Rick said, the pill draw was determining a lot of, because no one that runs our stuff has junk cars. Everyone has badass equipment, and everyone there is pretty good shoe. So, it sucked that we were watching. I think at DuQuoin, the guy that won our first race was in the B main on the Saturday portion, and it was like, what's going on? So
you get 50 cars there, and let's say you go out second and Joe B goes out 48th. Well, there's a huge difference in the track at that point.
Yeah.
And, that guy who's qualifying 48th is, if he's, he's liable to be half second off pace.
Right. And we didn't want to do just straight up qualifying either because, you're with our deal, you're going out with the guys you're going to race against,
right?
So, and then with the invert, it still gives you time to still get points too. So, you if you hit the invert right, I mean, we had the only pushback we really had was guys were like, well, I could sandbag and start on the pole, and I'm like, if you think you can sandbag by like a tenth of a second, then you're better than we probably are giving you credit for.
Right.
So, we just. We changed to that, and it seems to have really, I don't think we had. I know the Howard won the Sweet Springs race, but I don't know which brother it was. And then the Howard won one of our last races. I don't know which one it was, but other than that, we never had a repeat winner.
Really?
So, other than that, it was.
That's crazy.
Yeah, our the level of competition is so even in the top 2/3 of the field, 3/4 of the field, that in fact our points battle came down to the last night, and
Who ended up winning points?
Harley Holland ended up
Harley
winning the
points,
thing.
yeah.
But I mean, those guys the whole weekend. I mean, we had 3 guys that were in it yet, and like I say, we didn't have a repeat winner this year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Is Harley and his crew, are they dedicated coming back next year for the whole thing? Or
From what I understand, he is.
Yeah.
I know he ran them all, didn't he?
Yeah, he ran, and then that was. I mean, with our schedule, that was a commitment from him, because that's 6-7 hours for a
Right.
one-day race.
Yeah, yeah.
So the fact that he bought into our vision, that was cool. We really liked it. But I mean, kind of this whole thing started because Rick and I ran Power Eye, and we didn't reinvent the wheel.
Right.
we just picked up the Power Eye schedule and kind of called all those tracks and said, hey, we want to do this, and we tried to pay well to start. That was the big thing. That seems to always be it's nice when a race pays, $10,000 to win, but when it pays $100 to start, and
Right.
it's a $300 entry fee, that sucks,
Right.
So that's been our vision. We've been trying to keep it where, if you make the feature, I call it racer math. That's how I sell it to my wife. It was $35 for a pit pass, $20 to enter, or $30 if you're not a member, and you're at $55 or $65. And if I made the show, I got $100.
Right.
So, did I really make money? Probably not. Yeah. But
You had fun.
it's justifiable, So
So tell us about your first year. Did you have any growing pains? What did you learn? What are you going to use from last year to make this year better?
well,
Things like that.
we had a lot of growing pains, because it started as Brian and I talking, and then we was like, yeah, let's do it. And then, I don't know, a couple weeks later, Brian's like, hey, I'm going to run Coles County. And I'm like, oh, shit. So, Rick, thank God Rick came on board, because Rick and I's first race at Sweet Springs, I mean, we were everywhere. I mean, I was staging cars and running back to the tower to race direct, and Rick's in the infield and watching starts and pulling cones and watching the scales. And it was like, I'm sure all of us have a whole new appreciation for any sanctioning body, because you do not understand how much help it needs until you just don't have it.
Right.
So, and then about, 4 or 5 races in, DuQuoin came on.
Yeah.
And that was awesome. That was a huge help. For one, it freed me up, where I could answer questions. I could go back to racing myself. At first, I was kind of like frowned upon owning a series and racing a series, but I thought if Brad Sweet and Kyle Larson can do it, then why can't I?
All right.
So,
same scenario.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Brad
little-
Sweet likes to throw those right rears on the competitors. So.
Yeah. I mean, he sent J-Mac to the moon.
A couple times. Yeah.
But no, it's just DuQuoin coming on was awesome. I mean, you don't understand just the race pass, the transponders. I mean, just there's so much that goes into everything, from sign-ins to cutting checks at the end of the night to, I mean, we're the first guys there and we're the last ones to leave. And I promise you, none of us are able to retire on that. So
Right.
Rick's already
and
retired.
DuQuoin was a game changer for us.
Yeah.
I mean, he ran Hart Series. He started it and moved on from that after a while. But I mean, he could pull us to the side and say, "Hey, you guys, you're going to crash and burn it if you do this," you know. And so, he's really been a great help to this whole thing. And
Who is DuQuoin? What's his last
Dwayne
name?
Hewlett.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He, like Rick said, he formed the Hart Series, and he's got. I mean, for me, just I was always in the tower, so I was watching how he can click through race pass, and then Alan Cope's wife Alicia came in to help us, and so she was kind of like always shadowing him and watching him, so she could do those, and then I could run up and grab lineups and go post them, and it's just you don't know how many people you need until you don't have them, and
Right.
we were able to really make those key moves in the middle to the end of the year, and it just. I don't want to say it was seamless after that, but it just made all of our lives easier. Because Brian's at Coles, he's got to do that. He's wondering how many hamburgers and hot dogs to order. So I can't imagine what goes into owning a racetrack after what Rick and I are doing with the series. So but Brian, he's always there if we need him. just what do you guys think about this? What do you think about that? I mean, I talk to Rick probably 3-4 times a day. I got an hour drive into work, so he's up and walking his dog, and we bounce ideas off of each other. And but yeah, as far as growing pains, that just your staffing was big. And then for this year, it was hard to sell a purse 2 tracks because for one, we didn't have the data to back up. Like what, we got a $5,000 purse, and these guys are like, okay, well, what are you going to bring me? And we're like,
Right.
Well, in 2017, Kenny Brown bought you 50 cars, so we were hoping that we were going to do that. And this year was, like Rick said, just getting that groundwork done, getting it laid. So now we were able to go to these tracks and say, we brought you X amount of cars. That's probably mom, dad, sister, and pit passes, so it's a lot easier for us to sell this to the tracks, because at the end of the day, micros don't bring fans in, and it sucks to say, but if we can, the tracks got to make money,
Right.
and we in my mind, in the racer point of view, I'm like, well, just pay more money. Well, okay, but someone still has to cover that nut, so.
Yeah, we have to understand that when we sell these shows to these tracks. I mean, we averaged over 33 cars, and some shows we had several shows we had north of 45 cars, and so there's a formula for pit passes and whatnot whenever you bring these guys in, and it's got to be a win for everybody. Right. I mean, you can't just get out here and charge guys out the nose and then and give it all away, then the tracks are holding the bag. I mean, it's got to be a win all the way around, or they're not going to have us back. And we feel like we're accomplishing that because we've did car counts, we've did averages. I'm a pretty analytical guy.
Very analytical.
I'm just like, I'm not going to let you guys drive this sucker off the cliff, okay?
Right. I mean, that's the good thing about bringing Rick in. I mean, I know Tyler can say the same thing. Without Rick, we would not.
It would have been
I don't know if we would have sunk, but we wouldn't have as analytical as we would be now. So,
if you're bringing in north of or around 35 cars a night, that's impressive. Not many series can do that.
Right, and then
and that's just our regular purse.
Right.
That's not a 2-day show or anything like that. And that's one of the things we do also is listen to the racers. I mean, guys wanted more 2-day shows, and they don't have to be huge money paying shows, but right. we went kind of far off for a single show last year, and we heard their requests, and so we're trying to back in the old Power Eye days, it was race in the shadow of the arch, and we're doing sort of a modified version of that, and we feel like that's a pretty decent business model for our first couple years. If we expand further than that, who knows? I mean, we've had all kinds of asks to go a lot further than that, but it doesn't fit our model.
Right.
And so we're gonna do some things. It's just not in the cards right yet. But I think the WFO has all the opportunity to evolve into something Micro World hasn't seen.
Before we get on with the schedule, I know before we went on air, we talked a little bit about the restricted future. Do you want to touch on that on air?
Well, I guess the cat's kind of out of the bag. We are gonna have a WFO restricted class, and everybody has always talked about micros and micros being a feeder for the midgets and the sprint cars and whatnot, and that's true, and that's fine. Although there are several guys, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with making a career out of racing a micro. I mean, you got a 9 to 5, and this takes care of your adrenaline rush you need, and serves up to your competitive needs. Heck yeah, stay and do it.
Right.
But we had talked amongst ourselves, hey, why don't we look at the other side? Why don't we look at what's going to fill us? And what's going to backfill the vacuum when these guys do decide to move on to midgets and sprint cars? And the obvious choice was restrictors. And so we came up with a pretty competitive purse. We presented this to the tracks that we had offered everybody races that had raced with us last year. and a lot of tracks were a little bit reluctant to take on restrictors because they weren't proven. But so we came up with a strategy where we could guarantee the tracks would not lose money. If they took our restrictor and outlaw show, they wouldn't lose money on the restrictors. We feel like the outlaws can stand on their own now, and so we're paying $500 to win, $50 to start. It's exactly half the purse of a normal WFO outlaw show. There's been a ton of interest. I honestly would not be surprised to see the restrictor class surpass 30 cars average.
Yeah.
So will the restricteds be running every night?
No, not every night.
every
We're going to run 10 nights.
Okay, 10
And
nights.
We
okay.
have a 17 race schedule currently, counting our TBA weekend, but we have 10 nights scheduled at this point.
Awesome. I think that'll be
And we have a
huge.
points fund
Yeah.
for them as well.
Yeah. Driven Midwest. Harley stepped up, and he's gonna help the restrictor kids, and so it's kind of funny that Mike Dicey with Hyper's our wing outlaw, and Harley's our restrictor guy.
Yeah, that
But
is funny.
that's part of our model too.
Yeah.
Right.
Is we want to include the whole community, the whole
Right.
racing community.
Yeah.
Right.
And I explain that to all of our vendors whenever we're talking to folks. I
Right.
mean, it serves no purpose, and you can't uplift the entire community if you isolate someone and leave them out.
Right.
So I talk to different motor builders, and I might have an inside line on a micro motor builder, but we got to have everybody participating in this thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's something different that a lot of series haven't done to this point.
I think a bunch of outsiders just see conflict. They think that if they have different, say different tracks or different builders or different whatever, they always see, oh man, I can't believe that's going to be conflict or anything. But I think all those people want to be a part of stuff like
Absolutely.
that. They
Yeah.
all want to be a part
not
of it.
an automatic conflict. There's not an automatic
problem.
People don't realize that just because you have Hyper and say Driven, they would team up to do something huge if they had to. I guarantee you that would be something.
no,
that-
Mike-
Oh, I guarantee you they would.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mike
so-
Mike was our sponsor last year, and Harley ran all the races.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
it's we're lucky to be aligned with such great people that believe in our product and our vision.
and the two biggest in the country.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
So let's just get to it. Let's unveil the 2025 WFO Winged Outlaw Micro schedule. We ready for this, guys?
Yeah.
Great.
Well, we're going to start her off in early April at Coles County. That's kind of our flagship track.
Home track. Yeah.
Home track, yeah. So that's where we're going to kick things off, and then we move on to the 3rd of May at SIR. We're going to run just a straight outlaw restrictor show there. That we really feel like that's going to be the restrictors should be able to, by then, we should be able to really show what we're going to have. Right. We move on to the 17th of May at Macon.
Man, I'm glad that's back on the
Mighty
schedule.
Macon.
Excuse me?
I'm glad
Yeah.
that's back on the schedule.
Yeah.
Macon is just, and I see that there's a 2-day show there later on. I mean, I know you're going to talk about that, but I was really disappointed in the other corn race they had there that they got canceled or whatever. I was,
Oh, the corn.
yeah,
belt. Yeah.
that was a really good race. And I mean, I know that they had owners switch over and do all that stuff, so it was a big deal. But I'm glad Brian picked up that race sort of. But now that I see Macon back on there, that was a good race. I mean, that was a pretty good race.
It's making
Macon's
kind
a heck of a track
It
for
is,
absolute wing
it-
micros, man.
It fills
And
the void of it. We don't have Belleville anymore.
No.
Macon was kind of always a sister track. So
that track it scares me. It's so not driving or anything like that. It just looks like it dwindles like into, I don't know how to say it. Like if it would close, I kind of would be like, man, that
it's the
sucks.
last
I've
hurrah.
seen it because it's so far out in the middle. Which I mean, Coles County's booming and it's out in the middle of nowhere. But Macon always just seems every time you go there, it almost feels like it's dying. And then mostly last year when I
Chris,
didn't really see much with it, and then I was like, oh crap, here we go. But then I think it looks like there's more stuff. I've seen other schedules picking up little pieces of it. So it looks like they might just more be along the lines of say more of a big track race type thing, not as much weekly stuff or whatever. But
I mean, and with Kenny and Talon, Kenny Brown and Talon Turner. Talon has a lot of, the new ownership group's got a lot of, Talon brings a lot of passion. He brings a lot of enthusiasm. And that's what you need, you know.
He has a lot of energy.
Yeah.
He's 17 or he's a young kid.
he's ready to go.
Yeah, and he's not scared to do anything. I mean, I think he was the flagman at DuQuoin.
I seen that.
If they need it, he's willing to do it, you know, and he's got a badass race at Port, you know, so.
Which one's that? The Milestone deal?
Yeah, the one in the.
Yeah, you might know a little bit about that one.
Yeah.
The one in the beginning of March. Let me get my wallet out. See if I remember it.
I forgot about that, actually.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying. I'm glad
Carry
to
that
see.
stub with you in the.
Oh yeah. I'm glad to see that Macon's back on, kind of being back on some lists of people's races. 'Cause that track's awesome. I mean, it's a good track.
But then
Then we go. Well, we hope to go. We got a TBA on May 30th and 31st. We can't really say where we're going, but we're trying to put together another 2-day show. There'll be a little bit of added money if we get this thing all put together. We need another week or so. Maybe next week during the, I guess things airs during the shootout. We hope to have it done during the shootout so people will know what we're talking about. And then we roll straight into the Prelude on the 14th of June. And that's at the Hustle.
Yeah, that was our highest attended race last year. So
yeah.
And then the breaking news. This is kind of a big deal. We are the sanctioning body for the High Banks Hustle. So,
which is amazing to me.
That's a big. That's a big step.
That's a big deal.
That's
a big deal
to me. That's I think to us three, that's kind of the Knoxville Nationals, the micro world.
Yep.
You know, the shootout's a big deal. You know, obviously you don't get 2,000
What's
locally the Hustle is.
Oh yeah, the Hustle's the.
You know,
when you sent out the text of that, I had to call Rick right away. I'm like, I got to know, like, what did you say to get that done? Because that is amazing.
Is the payouts and everything still going to be the same at the Hustle?
The payouts will be the same. We're there. We're the sanctioning body for it. Jake and his crew are still going to run the operation. I'm going to be there with Jake. We have people ready to fill in positions if they need that. I mean, we're not going to reinvent the wheel. Those guys have done a fantastic job with the Hustle over the years. But we just, in the conversations Jake and I had, it just seemed like a natural for Wing Outlaws if we needed to participate in this race. So this will be a show-up points race. It's not going to be a full points race. If you're a member of WFO, you get show-up points.
So the guy that wins gets the same amount of points as the guy that ran in the back of the B, you know, or whatever. So.
But it just makes sense for us to be a part of that.
The dates on that are June 20th and 21st, right?
Yeah. Sorry.
No, that's fine. So,
and then we have the 10th of July as practice for the Tom Rick Memorial, and then the 11th and 12th. Since Brian, this is your dad's race, do you want to talk about that a little bit? I mean, it's going to pay really nice. It's going to be a super great race.
Yeah. So I mean, this race is obviously a race that is special to me and to my family, and then obviously with WFO. So we'll probably format this race exactly like the Hustle, and this race will pay $13,069 to win.
Jesus.
Start money will be way up there. We're not sure what that's going to be yet, but we're anticipating this to be a staple event for WFO as well as Coles County for years to come.
So that's in 3 week time.
So you got two
double or two.
The Hustle's 12,000, right?
The Hustle's
12.
12.
Yeah.
So you got
so
2
guy
months,
could
12,000 to win 1 month, 13,000 the next month.
Yep.
I mean, you might as well just stay in Missouri, Illinois, Illinois.
Yeah.
Might as well just go over and park in Illinois. If you don't like Illinois, though, you can come right across the river and stay over there if you want. 'Cause I know a lot of people don't like Illinois. But I mean, we're just right across the river.
I mean, that's kind of the direction we wanted to go with
That's
WFO.
fantastic.
You know, we all have this vision, and we want to make it the best wing outlaw micro series in the nation. And I think that with these 2 shows, I mean, there's a couple other shows that Rick will talk about, but we are putting our flag in the ground and going to make this thing wonderful.
Well, that's what we've talked about on a couple of our other shows. You know, people don't, you know, a lot of our local people were giving us crap about talking about the micro and stuff, and we kept explaining every month from March till October, almost November, you can race for 5,000, 10,000. There's 1 or 2 big races like that every month somewhere in the Midwest.
Within a day, within
a
half a day or
a drive. I mean,
right.
and I mean with those 2, just seeing those 2 on the schedule, I mean you're going to almost have 2 shows a month now that you can at least pick up in 2,500 to 5,000 to 10,000 or whatever.
Right.
Oh yeah, and one of the problems with scheduling also is just like the sponsors, and we're trying to get everyone involved. We don't want to schedule on top of anybody that's having a big micro race. I mean,
transparency's
we're going to support Talon's race in Oklahoma. It's not a points race or WFO by any means, but we're going to support him because we have nothing but to gain. We have everything to gain by him being successful down there. So, then that's in Port City and first weekend in March, I believe it is. Yep. You may know a little bit about that.
I think so.
Jeremy.
Yeah. It's on my schedule.
I guess you guys
What's
are going.
the date on that stuff?
But then after
the check's wrong. It's a day later because we raced on Sunday.
Oh, right.
So I was hoping it wasn't going to bounce, but it cleared.
then after the Tom Rick, we're going to go into Macon. And that's 8/22 and 23. It's a 2-day show with the Power Eye Midgets. We haven't talked about the payout, but the first day is for sure going to be a straight up
Standard
WFO payout. But I'm sure it's going to be a little added money as we work through this thing. But we just got that taken care of here in the last few days, and so that's really awesome too. I mean, 2-day show at Macon is just going to be a blast.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And then we're with midgets too. So that's even,
you can't go wrong there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they'll make that thing. They'll push that cushion up on the fence, and I mean these micros will race just as good as the midgets do at Macon, man. And then Tyler, you want to talk about your Highland race on NASCAR weekend?
So September 6th is we're going to have the Extreme Midgets and WFO Micros at Highland. I'm on the board at Highland, so that'll probably be our Larry Westerfield Memorial. And if I can get some extra added money, we will definitely throw it in there. I have in the past, so fingers crossed I'll be able to bump that purse and bump the start money. But the midgets race awesome at Highland, and the micros, we're probably going to have 8 or 9 races. We might talk about that later, but kind of run. Obviously, my plate's full with this and my own racing, but I still do get on there at Highland and try to bring some open wheel flair to it because it's pretty stock car country-ish. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then we're at Highland, and then October 3rd and 4th we do our 2-day show at Jacksonville, which we're with Extreme, and we were with MOA last year, so I don't know if MOA will be back. I don't know. They haven't put their schedule out, but Extreme will for sure. So that was really cool. It's an all open.
Probably be the Ron Milton.
Yeah, I was going to say that's
It
usually
typically is.
MOA.
Yeah.
Kenny hadn't put anything out yet.
Yeah, but it was an all open wheel show
Yeah.
last year on Friday, and then they added stock cars,
Saturday.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
they had
like
street stocks.
7 of them or something.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
and then we'll close it out with at Coles on the 17th and 18th of October. So
That's
And that's
good.
another $5,000
Yeah.
win show
That's a
to
good-
wrap it up.
That's a good swap with the whole. I was wondering why the WFO championship really wasn't at Coles County last year.
Yeah.
But I guess you already had it planned. So
Scheduling takes a while.
It does take a while.
yeah, you were asking what it takes to do a series, and scheduling's like 75% of it.
yeah, I bet.
So that's all the dates. Like give a rundown, like your normal night. What's the payouts? What's the entry fee? What's,
We're
on a normal, say just a normal night, what your payout and stuff is, and to make the show.
We're $1,000 to win. That's guaranteed money. It's $100 to start. We got to pay Jeremy $500 to show up.
Yeah.
But no, it's $1,000 to win, $100 to start. And then if you are a member, we do charge a $100 membership fee. That gets you additional insurance, usually a T-shirt, like Jeremy's wearing there.
I didn't pay my $100 yet, though.
It's not quite as cool as this Jeremy shirt, but it's if you're a $100 member, you get a $10 discount from whenever you pill draw. We call it an entry fee. If you're a member, it's $20. If you're not a member, it's $30. And I think you guys ran 4th in our points, but you weren't a member.
I gave him the money for it.
But yeah, it's the way we kind of justified the $100 is if you run all of our races, it saves you money. Yeah. So and it's also like I was talking about with Racer Math, it's not an ungodly entry fee. That just some higher paying races sometimes it breaks the bank just to get there, and
right.
At the end of the night, there's only one guy walking out with that big check. So you got to feed the guys from 10th on back. So that's kind of goes back to part of our vision, but. Yeah, it's whatever the track charges for a pit pass, which normally everybody's $35 now. So you buy your pit pass, you pay your $20 or $30 entry, you make the show, it's $100. So that's kind of how we run. There's no hidden backdoor fees or anything. We just show up, you race, come see one of us at the end of the night, get a check, and we pay you that night, and hopefully we see you the next night or the next race. So
what you've talked a few times about the points fund or the points. Do you know your points fund payout for the end of the year yet?
Last year we paid $3,000.
Nice.
Harley walked out with $3,000.
Our points fund is somewhere around $8,500 to $9,000 all in for the outlaws, and the restrictors will be 50% of that.
Yeah.
Well, you had our total purse for the season calculated.
Yeah. So last year, in our 12, we scheduled 14 races. 2 were rained out. We ran 12. We paid out $60,000. This year we have 17 races scheduled, and right now we're going to be paying out a little north of $150,000 for Wing Outlaw Micros.
Wow. That's almost 3 times purse.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So
Steven Snyder's going to have to move to Missouri.
Going to have to put a wing on,
yeah.
That guy, what did he make, $100,000 this year from what we were told?
I believe it. I mean,
and he gets 50% of his cut because Cole was trying to bump up his cut on ours. And I said, you win us $100,000, we'll talk about bumping up the cut. We're just over here with the 10. I mean, we just handed that straight Joe B. We didn't even see the check, really.
You just sign the back of it and say,
pretty much. It was, but hey, we didn't pay for the motor, so we were good.
There you go.
Guys, got anything else you want to touch on WFO before we move on to Highland a little bit?
A couple things. Sponsors and
well,
huge.
We do want to thank our sponsors, Hypers, sponsoring the Point Fund for the Wing Outlaws, Harley, and Midwest D1. Those guys are driven. They're doing the restrictors. Speed Shack's going to play a part, whether you knew it or not, Joby. And,
surprise.
Yeah, and Flying A Motorsports, the #1 Intech dealer in the world, those guys just jumped on 2 days ago, and
really?
And so we're still out there looking. We got some other things that are pretty exciting. I can't really talk about just yet.
Okay.
Maybe catch me at the shootout, but we got some stuff that's going to happen, man. This thing's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I did see WFO was sponsor of the Outlaw Winged Outlaw at the shootout.
Kind of fits our deal. So
yeah, that's our model. We want to lift everything Wing Outlaw. I mean, so we had the opportunity to sponsor the Wing Outlaw class at the shootout, and we're going to help talent out a little bit at the Outlaw Nationals in Tulsa.
Cool.
And I mean, once again, we're all about lifting Wing Outlaws.
Yeah. You know, to me, that's cool to see you guys working with talent, because I know he's aligned with Kenny Brown, who had the Power Eye. And, you know, there could very easily be a rivalry there, so to speak. But it's cool to see you guys working and supporting each other. That's huge for the growth.
I mean, we had some pretty candid conversations about that, and we frankly told Kenny right off, you did a lot of things right, Kenny, and
Right.
We're not trying to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. So, but we need these guys to be the premier class for the most part, and that's how our schedule looks. I mean, that's how we're taking this thing.
Yeah, and on Stephen Paul with Test Drive Technologies, he was our Restart Cone sponsor last year, so he came on board last year and did that. So hopefully we can get some guys back. I think K1 was a couple of our heat races. We can't do it by ourselves.
Right, takes a small army, doesn't it?
And RS12 was a big part, with Brian and Coles. So
I know a lot of the outlaw guys don't care about it, but like some of the restrictors, because they're young, when you guys take their picture for their heat race wins with the little signs and everything, that's a big deal.
They love that.
That's
Absolutely.
a big deal, man.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know you guys will continue stuff like that, but yeah, those kids love that.
Well, they see their heroes doing it with the outlaws or high limit, and
they're the hero, and
Yeah.
it's good all the way around.
So hopefully some of those sponsors pick up where you can have a heat race,
Sure.
little things.
sure.
Those are cool, man. Those kids love that.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely think the future WFO looks bright, guys.
Yeah, and I mean, just so everybody knows, I know we ran through all this, and you're not going to remember all these dates. We'll have Chad, our podcast technician.
Where is Chad? He's missing.
He's gone. I think he went to Vegas or something.
Biggest podcast of our life, and he bails on us.
We're probably not even recording right now.
It says we are, but I don't know.
But we'll put the sheet. We'll have him put the sheet up.
It'll be on our deal,
Yeah.
And then at the shootout, I'm sure there'll be flyers.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. This will release Friday morning during the shootout, and I think the plan is to distribute these flyers during the shootout. Is that
sure
right?
half that'll
Those
leak
two
out
guys
by
would be
then.
down there.
Yeah.
I won't be. If I ended up down there, I'd probably end up divorced. But
Okay.
yeah, I do the chili bowl for the whole week, so
Yeah.
and it's not like it was when Jeremy used to spend 2 weeks down there. They don't have that anymore. So
Right.
now,
That was bad, though. I didn't like that. I mean, I liked it, but I didn't like it.
your younger self like.
I'm still going 2 weeks this time, but I'm going to have a week to recover. But
Yeah,
I'm just going there to hang out with Cole and watch his debut, because that's going to be, who knows if
He's
that'll
in
ever
the-
happen again.
yeah. He's in a good car, so
And I know we'll get in trouble, mostly with Denny with us.
All right.
Yep, that's it, man. Everybody, WFS schedule, we'll post it up, so you'll see it on here, so you can kind of look at it rather than just try to listen to all the dates and everything, and of course payouts and all that. We'll have all that too.
Yeah. You want to go ahead and touch on Highland a little bit? I know you said you're on the board and bringing some micro action back there. So.
yeah. So I like I said back when Jeremy sold me another car and I got back into micros. Highland was running Belleville Friday, and
Best deal of your life, though.
yeah, it was something. That airbox you sold me on.
Well, the deal was we both weren't even racing cars, and we found a car in like almost Mexico border. Neither of us wanted to go get it. And I seen him comment on it or something, and he's like, "Man, that's a hell of a deal." Well, it ended up being, I don't remember, say it was $10,000.
Yeah.
Well, I called the dude, and he was on an Air Force base or something, and he was leaving.
yeah.
So no one had no interest in it, and then he ended up, it was like 8,500.
Yeah, it was
and it
something.
was
Yeah.
wings and boxes
It was-
apart. I mean,
yeah.
and it wasn't junk.
No,
it was good stuff.
No, it was a Sawyer when Sawyers
were the hot commodity, and no one
thing.
jumped on it because it was so far away. And I ended up getting a couple days off work, and I sent him a message. I'm like, "Hey man, I hope you don't care, but I'm going to get that car." And he's like, "Oh hell yeah, man!" So I went and got it, and I only drove it.
Yeah, you raced it once or
I
twice.
watched it like
and-
twice, and I broke my neck deal, and I had this. It just got weird.
Yeah.
So I thought, man, I'm scared. So
Yeah.
I figured it wasn't a good idea. So I called him, and I said, "Hey, you want to give my money back?" Because it was still way good of a deal, and I
Yeah.
raced it like twice, and
Yeah.
and he said, "Hell yeah!"
Yeah, so
I'm
I
pretty
went down
much-
and I picked it up, and then I got back into micros, and I actually ran the last Do Run race when Bobby was still around, and
I remember that.
yeah, I think I ran third that night or something, and Bobby was just a good dude. He was such a great guy, and he's like, "Well, I'll see
He's
you
missed for sure.
He is, and then he said, "Well, I'll see you next year," and I said, "Yeah, I will. I'll be back." So, because midget racing just got so expensive, it was tough to fill in, and I just used the micro to kind of fill in where I wasn't running the midget, and but yeah, anyway, it was you could run Friday at Belleville and Saturday at Highland, and then Highland they didn't have anyone on the way it works is they have a track committee, and they didn't really have anyone that understood micros. So their track president called me, and he was like, they did away with micros for like 3 years, and they just weren't drawing any cars. Well, they were going against the Hustle and going against the Sprague and just going against all these races. And it's like, well, that's why.
Right.
And that's part of, like Rick said with WFO, we work with all the tracks because it does no good for us to be, at arms with Kenny Brown at Macon, so it does us no good for tracks or series or whatever to not communicate and not get along. So they brought me in at Highland, and pretty much all I did at Highland the first year was Highland had the bi-state thing where the late models would run Peevely one week and they'd run Highland the next. And the micros pretty much just filled the spots of the late models. And that was pretty much it, how it worked. And we ran 8 or 9 races, and it's kind of Advantage Nursing. Brandon Schneider, him and his mom came on board and sponsored the series, and we pay $500 to win, $70 just to start. And then at Highland, actually, if we have a B main and you don't make the race and you're a member, which I think it's like $30 to be a member, that's a track thing, not a micro thing. But if you don't make the feature, you get a free pit pass to the next race. So nice. Your membership essentially pays for itself just by being a member if you didn't make the feature. So, but yeah, we're $500 to win, $70 to start. Obviously, I didn't really know the Highland schedule because I was waiting for this one to fill in because this is my bread and butter. I gotta give these guys 100% of my attention. So, but Highland, we're gonna probably run 8 or 9 races again. Obviously, September 6th is NASCAR weekend, so hopefully we can draw some of the NASCAR guys. Kyle Busch or something. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I know Larson can't race any dirt during the playoffs, and Chris told me last week, DuQuoin, he can't run any dirt during the playoffs. But Highland's not. It's close to home. We pay well. We don't charge any fees. Just come buy a pit pass and race. So that's kind of the deal there. And like I said, I don't know a schedule yet. We haven't even put out the actual stock car schedule yet, but we got a Facebook page, so just check that out. I'll probably tie it in with WFO somehow, but that's kind of the bread and butter on Highland. So
you said Brandon Schneider helps out with that or something?
Yes, Advantage Nursing, yeah.
He was my arch enemy back in the day. Yep. He don't know it, though.
He was your Casey Barnhouse?
Yep.
One time at Do Run, and he probably don't even know he even did it.
Probably not.
But he kind of fed me up a little rear, and I hit the wall and tore my car up, and I didn't have any money at the time, hardly, so I had to sit out for a while, so I've hated him ever since.
Was it back the silver 61?
No. That car never ran. This was Tony Roney car.
Okay.
I hit the wall like 200, and that car didn't even do nothing.
Well, Rich built you a good piece.
It tore up all the parts on it, but not the parts that the Roney's built. Yeah, Brandon, he put me in the wall. He don't even know about it.
I promise you he doesn't.
I was like, ever since then, I was like, man, that guy, he's getting it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we've touched on WFO and the Highland. The only thing left is get on Brian and Coles County schedule. Let's take a minute to thank our sponsor of the Dirty Right Rear podcast, Paul Clark with Clark Salvage, located on Sims Road off of B Highway in Park Hills. It is Missouri's largest U-Pull junkyard. New cars arriving daily and over 35 acres worth of cars. You can check out Clark Salvage on Google or Facebook or call 636-232-3795. They are open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, Saturday, 8 to 12. All right, we're back here on the Right Rear podcast, and we've covered the WFO portion of our podcast. Now let's go on to the Coles County Speedway portion of our podcast. We now have Brian joining front and center with us to talk Coles County and a little bit about his background in, racing, or Coles County's background, things like that. So tell us a little bit about Coles County.
So Coles County, it was born in 1956. It is the oldest micro sprint track in the United States, which pretty proud to be a part of that and keep that history going.
How did it come about you becoming a promoter at Coles County?
Well, it's kind of a funny story. So it ties in with WFO. when we started WFO, we were looking for places to go racing, and so I called the promoter at the time and asked him for a race or two, and he said he didn't know if they were going to open next season, and so long story short, it was 30 days later that we're drawing up contracts.
That's wild.
Yeah, it is wild. It is wild.
Don't have a place to race.
Didn't have a place to race, and now we have.
Yep.
Now you have a home track. Outside of Coles County, I know you are a part or founder of RS12 Motorsports.
Yep.
Tell us about RS12 Motorsports.
So RS12 Motorsports started out as a dream of mine, just to own some race cars and put a team together and do some racing myself, and ended up with a bunch of race cars, and then ended up with not a bunch of race cars, and now we have a few, and we have other teams that's kind of joined under our flag, so to speak, and it's just a bunch of buddies racing together.
Can't beat that.
No?
So I know in the beginning, we were kind of talked on some other shows about, you had a lot of guys, everyone was talking about the RS12 stuff. I mean, it's just racetrack drama, not really drama, but racetrack talk. And, you had, a handful of guys signed up. I think you had Clary running a lot of stuff for your kind of like head mechanic or whatever. And you had 5 or 6 cars. And I mean, I seen Alan Cope on one of them, and I think Brody Strong. And I thought I seen Ryan Mueller was going to join in for a little bit. And I know I'm going to miss, Kurt Westerfield. I seen him joining in and all that. And then I seen, you got rid of all the hypers and then all this stuff. And I mean, you jumped in with everything. And then we see, you've still got a handful of cars and everything, but what all kind of circulated happened? I mean, I know there's no love loss. I see you still talk to everyone.
Oh yeah,
but I mean, that was just so much stuff to go. And I bring it up on all the other ones that so many chiefs about people with having that many pretty good drivers. Yeah. Everybody's probably got to want their thing, want this, or kind of do their own thing or whatever. And I know that's got to be kind of hard on it all too, but I just wondered how all that went about. And
like I said, it was just it was kind of a dream to do something like that. And at the time we had the opportunity to do it. And then it just kind of got to an unmanageable point, and the racetrack happened. That, that's 99% of it. So, the good thing is now that we still all race together and we still kind of have a flag and still have, a little bit of a team. And, but everybody that knows me knows that Coles County is 100% my number one priority. So,
what, outside of the racetrack, what's your business adventures like outside of the racetrack? What's your background?
So my background is trucking. We've been in the trucking business for, my whole life. That's all I know is trucking and racing. And started off with both things. Started off with my dad. He owned a bunch of trucks, and hell, I was driving trucks at 14 years old. Or probably younger than that. And something about trucking and racing just kind of go hand in hand.
So you're the owner of Spartan Transportation, right?
Yes, sir.
Because I know they sponsor. You guys sponsor a lot of race teams, race tracks. I've seen that name and logo on a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So we get involved with racing. I mean, like I said, trucking and racing kind of go hand in hand, in my opinion. And just fortunate to get to fly the Spartan flag on all of the vehicles and things like that. And it helps the. It helps the trucking company as far as, driver. Hell, I've got drivers that try to, call me from Alabama, said, "Hey, I seen, Tyler posted something about Spartan. So, get some information." But
I think I got to get into the trucking industry.
Well, I mean, not with your cattle company.
I have a lot of different guys working on my cattle stuff, but the trucking seems more profitable because everybody that has a trucking company seems to have all kinds of cool shit.
But they all say there's no money in trucking.
There's no money in trucking, but I got 36 midgets and 14 sprint cars.
It's kind of like farmers.
I'm over here with all these cattle, and I'm rubbing nickels together.
You got a bunch of hamburger though.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I got a couple good buddies of mine that are drag racers, and they're the same way. They have 6, 8, 10 trucks, and they always complain, I'm broke, no money in trucking, but man, they've got 3 drag cars, 10 pickups, and all kinds of toys, and I'm over here driving a 20-year-old beater car.
Trucking's tough, man. Rick can probably attest to that. Trucking is a hard business.
It's tough because you got to count so much money all the time.
No, it's definitely not like that.
Well, you got to start over counting every morning.
Yeah.
You're right. Exactly.
So how many trucks does Spartan have?
We have 27.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So do you do over the road?
So not really over the road. We do a lot of we haul a lot of automotive, specifically tires to all the auto manufacturing plants. So we're lucky and blessed that we have a couple good accounts with a couple of the tire manufacturers.
Yeah. Okay.
And they go, we go into Dallas, General Motors down at Arlington. We go to Lansing, Michigan. I mean, we're starting a new contract January 1. We're going to provide tires to the Peterbilt factory.
Really?
In Grand Prairie, Texas. So mainly just tires is really all we haul.
Well, that explains it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you ready to get on with the Coles County schedule?
Ready.
I know that's what brought us all here. One of the two things, and so I'll let you run with it. You want to start off with your 2025 schedule?
Yep. So 2025 is like Tyler was saying. I like to race a lot, and I don't honestly. These guys can attest. I don't know any other way than just go for it. Go for it.
Yeah.
Go all in. So.
Balls deep, right?
Balls deep, right?
Wide open.
Wide open.
Right. Yeah, there you go.
So we're going to open April 5th. Going to be opening night, and that's going to be with WFO.
Let's take a backtrack here before we get on the schedule. What are your weekly classes at Coles County?
So our weekly classes are going to be Wing Outlaw Micros, Mod Lights. We're going to run the Mod Lights this year. It's going to be A-Class. It'd be A-Class Wing, non-Wing Micros, Restricted, and Juniors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right.
Is it non-wing outlaw or A-class?
No, so there's a lot of stuff that goes, a lot of talk about non-wing. My thought on non-wing is just non-wing.
Whatever.
I mean, if it's an A-class or it's an outlaw, I don't know that it makes us a whole lot of difference at Coles. I mean, probably some now that the track has come in real well. But my thought with non-wing is if you have, 12 wing outlaw cars show up and 12 non-wing shows, now you have a 12-car feature, and I'd rather have a 20-some car feature.
Yeah.
So we'll try it again this year. It seemed to work pretty well last year, but we'll stay. I
think you'll pick up some Mod Light guys, that's for sure.
Yeah, I've had several.
I don't think they've ever raced on anything like that before.
It's funny. Before we get into the schedule, so we ran Mod Lights a couple times last year, and the first time we had them,
I love it.
Paul Day had the track. I mean, that thing was. I mean, there was grip everywhere, and then the thing rolled up the cushion, and those guys just go out there and they were hammered down. Well, they started flipping.
Yep.
Like why? I mean, we flipped 4 or 5 cars.
A bunch of them.
So I went back to the pits. I'm like, what is happening here? Why are you guys flipping? He goes, well, we're not used to having bite. And I'm like, well, figure it out quickly because
We got bite.
you got bite, and we're just turning cars over. So. But no, I think they do good there. I think it's a cool show, and
that's what I was telling our other show. I said, man, those Mod Light cars, they're probably one of the coolest looking cars.
Yeah.
When you go up to and look at them, man, they're pretty,
They're cool.
They're neat. But the races that they do really well at Southern Illinois. They're pretty good. Do Run's awful. I don't like them there because it's just not good racing. But when we went up there, man, every one of them started biking, flipping over, and all this. And I was
Wasn't
like,
it crazy?
These guys have never seen any of this before. And then they figured it out. A lot of them figured it out. But I think that with other people dropping them and stuff, I think you're going to pick up a good handful of cars. And I mean, even if it's a 10 car class or whatever, you still need that,
Yeah.
And they need somewhere to run.
They need somewhere to run.
Yep.
So I'm excited to have them back. And have you ever looked under one of those?
Oh yeah, we've got a couple at the shop, and they're pretty wild.
They're pretty wild.
And that's why I say they're certain ones. They are the coolest looking car when you're up in close, and you're like, man, this is a neat little car. And then they just kind of ruined me around here because it wasn't that great. But
I've never drove one, but I'd sure like to try that. I think it'd be cool. What are they, 1,000 cc or
they're
something?
1,000. I wish they were a little bigger because it looks like they just don't get the tires just don't get to spin, and it don't go sideways enough for me. I guess maybe I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
something like that. But man, they sure hook them up at even Farmington. They're pretty hooked up there.
I
But
bet they're fast around Farmington.
They fly. Yeah. All right, you ready to move on the schedule?
Yeah, so like I said, April 5th, we're going to open up opening night with WFO. April 12th is a weekly show. We're going to have I don't even really want to call them D2 midgets anymore, but it's not a national midget. We're going to have Mara, IMRA. Those guys are going to be in on April 12th. And we're going to actually run those cars we're going to run them once a month. So
Yeah, it looks like monthly.
yeah. The rest of April, 12th, 19th, 26th, that's all weekly racing. April 19th is we're going to have the vintage sprint cars back. They always put on a good show at Coles, seems like, and so that's cool. May 3rd, normal classes. The midgets will be back. May 10th, weekly. May 17th, we'll have the vintage sprint cars back, and then another night of weekly. And then on May 30th and 31st, we'll have a 2-day show with the Extreme Outlaw midgets. Sport class on that is to be determined on that on those days yet, but that'll be a big event. The Extreme Outlaw midgets there, man. I don't know if y'all. I think you.
Yep,
you
I was
seen
there.
it. It was an incredible show. So we're really looking forward to that. June 17th, we'll have the midgets back. The D2s, then followed by a week, June 14th, of weekly racing. Let's see here. June 20th and 21st, we're going to do an A-class and Mod Light Special, and the vintage sprint cars will be back. Then we'll cap off the end of the month with some more weekly racing. And then we'll take 4th of July off, kind of regroup, get our bearings, and take my wife somewhere nice that weekend.
Yeah, that's important.
It is. But we'll come back with July 10th. We'll start that weekend of the Tom Rick Memorial. We'll start with practice on July 10th. And then on the 11th and 12th, we'll run the Tom Rick Memorial. And then that race is going, like I said, is going to pay $13,069 to win.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
that's a big payout.
That'll be my dad's favorite number was it's 2 numbers, 13 and 69.
Ah, okay.
So we just kind of combined that and made that what it is. But so that's going to be a really cool event. July 17th, 18th, and 19th I have is to be announced. But on the way down here, I did talk to Kenny Brown and Keith Coons, and we are going to run. That is going to be our KKM. So we're excited to get that race back. That'll be they're doing some different things with. I'll let Keith and Kenny and all them break the news on the KKM. But
yeah, so you're going to have back-to-back weekends.
I know, man.
That's awesome.
I've talked to Rick. I've talked to Tyler. I've talked to everybody that we can. But it's going to be. We couldn't fit the dad's race in anywhere else, so. We'll make it work. The crew will be.
Well, I wasn't complaining. That's awesome for the drivers, man. That's killer.
It'll be good. So
A lot of the out of town people, they might as well not go home.
they might as well
Right?
stay.
Yeah.
Might as well stay. Well, I say that the Keith Coons are so much there's so much different information on that.
Yeah. Nobody
Nobody really knows. So
Yeah, so I'm sure they'll drop their information, on the KKM probably in the next few weeks, I would say. But it is going to be cool, and it's an honor to get Cole selected again to host that race. So what else we got here? First 3 weeks in August, the 2nd, the 9th, and the 16th, weekly racing. The 16th we'll have the midgets and the sprint cars again. And then on August 23rd, we'll come back with the WFO series. So that'll be a good race, and then we'll cap out the month of August with a regular night. Let's see, September 6th is another weekly night. 13th is weekly plus the midgets. We got a lot of midget races this year. Coles to me showed it's that it's a good place to run midgets.
yeah,
So September 20th, another night of weekly racing. Then on the end of the month, September 26th, 7th, and 8th, we're going to host the Jeff Horn Memorial. That's a non-wing race. We'll do I'm sorry, that's just the 26th and 7th. We'll do the prelims on the 26th, and we'll have the memorial on the 27th. That's a $10,000 to win non-wing race. So Ty Horn is a relative of Jeff, and he came to me last year and wanted to bring that race back to Coles. And last year it paid $5,000 to win. This year, after the race last year, he goes, "Man, let's make this $10,000 next year." And I'm like, I'm down. So we're hoping that event's going to be really good. September 28th, I'm not going to tell anybody what that is yet, but it's that'll be an OMG TBA. So that's going to be a big one if we can get this thing put together. These guys don't even know. So
So the 26th, 27th, is that a Friday, Saturday?
that's a Friday, Saturday.
So then the Sunday would be the 28th.
Sunday will be the 28th, and there's some details to work out on this thing. And
So you're saying the people that come to the 10,000 to win non-wing race will probably be there for the next night?
I'm saying they will not be there for the next night.
They will. Oh, God.
Well, I don't know. TBA.
Man,
TBA.
we got to price something out of you.
Gosh. So they won't be there, so there's no micros.
I'm not saying there's no micros, but
They might be the support class.
doubtful.
Okay.
Ooh, man.
Don't look at us. We really don't.
Are we talking big cars?
I seen a sprint car test there last year,
So Bobby Pierce test there. This
and I
morning.
seen Bobby Pierce
that's
test
that's
there.
where I was
We had a
going.
410 there, and we had Bobby Pierce there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Well, maybe it's just a party.
I'm not.
Maybe they're going to race that ambulance.
Yeah, we did that.
I was there.
We did do that. I get up the next morning, and I'm like, well, my ambulance is not where it was.
No,
and it's
no.
dirty.
We were up all night, and I was like,
Oh, you were there for that?
"Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah." It was pretty.
I think I
Pretty
involved
rough.
my kid and Paul Day, and
I just couldn't believe how many kids was still up, and it was like 4 in the morning, and I was like, "Holy crap! Where are all you people coming from?"
I don't do that. I mean, I used to do that, but then we got the racetrack and all these 2-day shows, and Daniel Robinson shows up for a 2-day show.
That's the problem.
I don't even go down there.
Because he's going to be the last one no matter what.
No,
And
he's going to win
Yes.
the night.
And
So-
because I was sleeping in the back. I went to bed in the back of the trailer and I could see everything.
Yeah.
And I still seen him out there. And I was like, God, I got to go to bed, man. This is rough.
I don't even go down there because I know that
He might not win every race, but he don't lose.
he
a party.
No,
he
he's
runs.
not.
Yeah. Where are we at? Oh, so October.
No, we was talking about September 28th still.
Oh no,
Yeah.
yeah. I thought we
We were getting ready to announce that.
not yet.
All right, we can go on to October.
October we'll start that month with a night of weekly racing. October 11th will be our final points night, and we'll have so we're gonna have a midget special that night, and it's gonna be IMRA, going to be Mara, and it's going to be the USAC Midwest Thunder. They'll all be there, and we're going to have see who the baddest D2 midget is. So that'll be a fun night. October 17th and 18th will be our WFO championships and also our Halloween clash, and I'm really looking forward to that night. Just to, the Halloween clash is always good. It's we've run it twice now, and it draws a lot of people. It's a fun event. There's something to do for everybody. The kids and bounce houses and face painting and everything. But
I love that event too.
it is cool.
A lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I forgot about
One of my favorites also.
that. But to showcase the WFO, we're gonna roll out the red carpet and we're gonna really do up a championship, night for them. So I'm very excited for that. But that's our schedule. What do you think?
Well, between these two, I really don't know if anybody else has a chance to put out their schedule.
Well, let's just, look at these two schedules and the amount of high-paying micro events within what's Coles County from here, 3 hours?
Just two and 15,
Yeah.
2:30.
Nothing here is more than what's Macon, is that the furthest? Or Jackson? Probably Macon?
Yeah, probably
Furthest?
Macon. I don't know. They're
Rick and Jacksonville are all in that
Yeah.
wheelhouse.
but also most people don't live down here that race. They're all
Right, yeah.
St. Louis area.
Sure.
Half-
I mean, a guy could make a heck of a year out of these two schedules right here.
Yep. I mean, you hit up a couple other, the I guess the Sprague, some stuff like that.
Yeah, that's
I mean, you're still talking like we've been talking. You can race for $10,000 every month.
There's 4 races right there. You got this with the Sprague and the Hustle, Dad's race, and what was the other? Oh,
Yeah, you put
The Horn,
these two schedules together and a couple other races, you're looking at a couple $100,000 for micros.
Yeah,
Right.
you're.
that's insane.
I wonder if Steven Snyder, he may be able to pick it up. He may have to come down a little more. He comes down here, we're going to start beating him, though. I'm done with him. Got to get some people to rough him up.
yeah.
If you can catch him, I guess.
Yeah.
When you get the 35 fluorescent orange Cobra car back out, and then we'll be okay.
That's throwing it back there.
Who was that sponsor?
So my aunt lived in Collinsville, where I'm from, and then she had a lake house and down at Bull Shoals, and there was this guy named Charlie. I don't even know his last name. And I don't know if he had a thing for my aunt, but he honestly called our house one morning at like 6 a.m. I was still in high school, and he's like, I want to be a part of your race team. And he's like, sell it to me. And I'm like, well, I got, some sponsors. I'd never really had anything big. And I was like, I got some guys that are $500 or $1,000, and I'd love to have a $10,000 one. And he goes, all right, well, you got one. And I'm like, damn, should I ask for 50?
Right?
But that was my first big deal, and I think we switched to Factor 1s, and then we tried those Honda F4Is that were garbage.
Yeah.
We eventually ended up on the Cowies, and we ended up with about more dead Cowies than probably your cattle business slaughters a year.
Oh,
Because there was a lot of them, but it was Derek and I went through a lot. There was some growing pains, but at the end of the day, it was we were buying them from Canada for $600. So
Oh, wow.
That
I
was
was in there and run
I
it.
like
Howies?
Mm-hmm.
Were you?
I like those days a lot better, man.
Yeah, $600 didn't even get in your core anymore.
I
You
know.
can't get ahead hardly.
No, you
so,
can't.
I ran an R6 for 2.5 years without doing anything to it, and I paid $600 for it off eBay. And then I bought one from out of a guy's back of his truck. That,
Didn't have a title.
well, he dropped it. He dropped a grinder on the back of it, and it messed up the numbers on it. And shit. So I think I got it for $400. But I told him I didn't need the title really, but that was cool.
I remember
like
that
those
deal.
Days yeah,
Yeah.
I like those days a little better.
Yeah, but we weren't racing for the money. We're racing
No,
for
Right.
heck no,
either,
man. I remember when Farmington, I think, they have a Micro Madness race
Yeah,
for
Micro Mad.
$2,000, and there was like 80 cars there.
Yeah.
80 cars there for $2,000.
Yeah,
Wow.
I think Odell won it.
Go
I don't even
figure.
remember. It rained the whole weekend.
Yeah.
The first
That-
one,
Yeah, I think it might have been was it in conjunction with the Queen's Royal or not?
I think it was in like October or something.
Yeah, it was. Well, the Queen's Royal always ran late.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
maybe
could have
was.
been,
I don't really
yeah.
remember, but yeah, $2,000, and people came from God
like
everywhere.
Rock and
Yeah,
the
man.
Showtime cars.
The micro scene over the last 3 to 5 years has just
It's sick,
exploded.
man.
Oh, it's crazy.
And people, we say it's a good class to get into or whatever. It's expensive as shit, don't get me wrong. But also, you can still get a decent car and run wherever you want and do whatever you want. But man, just the competition's great. Well, like right now, I've got a pile of tires in my garage that are semi-used and everything, and I can't give them away.
Yeah.
No teams will run them. And that's different because back in the day,
Right.
you left it outside your garage. There was some dude on a bender taking it, And now I've got a pile of them. I'm like, I want to give these to somebody really, and everybody's like, yeah, I'll buy new ones. Stuff like that, which is just uncommon. But I wish I think maybe Sweet Springs, you go up there and hand them out to some of those because they do have a couple like the Sportsman and stuff. But I think they may run those
Turf tires.
turf tires on the backs
Yeah,
of
the
those.
first time I ever saw that class was Claremore, Oklahoma had it, and that track's not even running anymore. But a lot of the tracks I ran aren't even in business anymore
No.
either. So
Is Pittsfield still even there? or what has they done
I
with
think
it?
The
there's
one
something
by
else
the
there.
prison? Well, there was two. There was the one by the prison that probably you're talking about.
It was in a hole.
yeah.
Okay.
And then
that's
there
not
was the one by the bowling alley.
No, that ain't.
That was more in town.
Yeah, well, they were right across the street from each
The
other.
one I'm talking about, you drove like through a gravel thing and
there
your
was
trailer
the-
got hit with
the
stuff.
tractor farm and supply.
Yes,
yeah, that was the one by the prison. And so Alan Motley is actually he's with MOA now, right?
Yeah.
He's the flag man, and he owned it, and him and his wife, and I think that was one of the first 10,000 to win shows I ever went to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember
The
that.
one Scott Sawyer won, but the Heartland Clash or Heartland Classic or something like that.
I just didn't know if the track was still even standing or.
I don't know how you can. I mean, it was in a hole, like you said.
it was
so I
just a
don't-
hole.
Yeah.
It may be full of water.
Or maybe probably good fishing there. or
Man,
something.
speaking of J Rock, man, that dude was
Yeah,
that dude was my jam.
Yeah, well, he ran for. Man, like Rick, you weren't in the game yet, but there was a guy. There was some silver cars with the red frames that said Showtime down the side. It was Lee something owned the cars, and J Rock drove the one. And then the year he won the shootout, I ran third, and him and then Dean Alexander, that Kiwi guy.
Yep.
They've raced their ass off, and we went to Tech, which Tech at the shootout back then was they drew top 5 were in the little area, and they literally put 5 numbers in a hat, and they pulled out 2 numbers, and that's what they teched. So I waited all night, and my number didn't even get drawn, but that Dean guy had an illegal wing, and so it bumped me up a spot. So
They used to do some dumb shit down there at shootout though.
remember
When
when-
they'd hang that plumb bob off the
that
side
was
of
the
your wing.
Yeah, that's how he got DQ'd.
that was retarded, man.
That couldn't go past the middle tread of the left rear tire.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't get half of that stuff, and that was in the outlaw class,
Right.
Mm.
Well, I went to the shoot. Man, I'm really going to show my age, but LA ran go karts and four
Oh,
wheelers.
I mean, Blue Wazoo.
The
Blue Wazoo.
Blue
yeah.
Wazoo. I think
Blue
Lance
Wazoo.
raced the
Yeah.
Blue Wazoo
Blue
last one
Wazoo.
year I was there.
When it back then though, wasn't if I remember right, the track didn't have a wall around it, did it?
No, it had a wall.
It was was it?
Yeah, it had. Whenever I ran, it had a wall, but the quads would go down the front stretch through 1 and 2. They would cut through the infield, and then they split.
Yep.
So like the one way had like a 2 foot tall little whoop-de-doo, and the outside didn't have any. And then they'd come back out going into 3 and go through 3 and 4 and down the front stretch, and that's what.
Seems to me like
they
on
had-
3 and 4 though, back in the day where the big grandstands are, that's by the pits, and
Right.
there's that concrete wall.
Yeah. I always had a wall because I remember whenever
Yeah, I
I ran
remember.
the go-kart kids. Did you guys ever run the shootout in a go-kart?
Yeah, oh yeah, we raced there. Lance even drove one of my go karts.
Yeah, maybe
there
that's
one year.
whenever. But they didn't. If you crashed, they didn't throw a yellow.
No.
Yeah.
It was just get the hell out of the way.
man.
Don't bleed on my racetrack.
Yeah. I mean, if it threw a yellow, there was somebody laying in the groove, and that was the only reason they threw a yellow. Either that, and we saw one kid like flip out of his cart and like Spider-Man to the fence,
Yep.
and it was
Hang
like
on to the fence and they keep on trucking.
they just keep on going. I mean,
don't-
it was wild. But and then the year I ran good, I think was they used to run double features. I remember they split the outlaw. They split the outlaw class, and everyone was bitching. They're like, "We just need one." I'm like, "You idiots! You just cut your chances in half and make it an A main." Like,
yeah.
so
They've changed that thing so many different times down there with some weird
yeah, I
stuff.
saw Rico running. The one year they ran outlaw carts. That was cool because I remember I was sitting next to Rick King, and he's like, if that one guy out there could just lean into the turn a little more, he'd be good. And we watched this guy get out, and it was Rico, and we're like, oh, boy.
He was pretty good.
He was, yeah. Rico, he's got.
And there were so many cool dudes. I wonder what happened. I mean, I seen I guess J Rock. I don't really know what happened to him.
I'd see him every now and then at the shootout or the Chili Bowl.
I guess he kind of maybe not as bad, but he's maybe like the Tyler Walker of micros.
I'd say that's fair.
God, that
I
dude-
mean, he had so much talent.
God,
He was
so
such a
much,
good
dude.
And
I don't know what happened, man.
Dad had a killer mullet. I mean,
The last time I think I remember him going down there, and they put him in that CS9 car. I think it was CS9. And he was going to win the damn thing,
yeah.
and then I think it blew up or whatever. But I guess maybe he's just got personal stuff or whatever he's got going down.
Yeah,
but
he was fighting some demons.
yeah, I
after a
know,
while,
man, and that
it
sucks.
seemed like he got better, and then
You would think if he got real better, he'd be back.
yeah.
Because there's no way, even if he's 35 years old, he wouldn't be able to wheel some of these kids,
Right.
in my opinion, dude.
Yeah. Well, he's. I mean, I'll be 40 next year, so he's my age. So
Damn.
How long have you two been in the micro scene?
Me?
Jeremy and
I, Rick,
Tyler.
and Jeremy.
Oh.
Or
Both
me-
of you.
Me and Jeremy.
Yeah.
I started like in 2000 or 99-ish, but then I quit in like 06, 07.
Yeah, try to become a bowler.
Well, I've been doing that since I was like 4. But then I got back into bowling when I had my ankle surgery and could do all that, and I traveled all over doing that. And then I kind of got back in it. I don't remember.
That car.
Yeah, when he bought that car, and then I actually got back in again. But then I got my neck all fused and bought another car, and then that didn't feel right, so I was out.
Yeah.
I wasn't doing that again.
Roney car, didn't you?
Yeah, I bought another Roni car.
Robbie's car.
Yep.
Yeah.
Drove it a couple times, and I said, nope, because I had everything. You know, had Hans and everything. I wanted to make sure I was safe, and it didn't feel cool. So I said, this ain't for me.
I was a freshman in high school whenever when we got our first car, and actually the first time I ever saw micros was at Coles County. We were at Springfield at the Knights Action Parks where the quarter midget track was, and we heard the natural progression from quarter midgets was 125s and then 600s, and we went over to Coles and we watched some of our old guys that had graduated up, and this was when Coles was in MMA.
See, and that's what I think I ran there once, and I
Yeah.
thought it was
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was in
Something
MMA.
like that.
Marion was in MMA. Wayne City
Yep.
was in MMA, and there was only like 4 cars, which that was when Paul Ellsworthy and Rick King were just the badasses of the world.
Did Coles have the covered grandstands then? When you
I don't remember that.
So I raced there. Some of the first laps I have turned in a race car was at Coles.
Really?
Yeah, it's 85, 86, some 7 maybe. But the thing about Coles County is it had these really cool looking bleachers. They were covered, and it was white and it was just really neat looking. But,
That seems to be an Illinois thing. You had Belleville,
Yeah,
Jacksonville.
right. And it was all
Coles
wood.
was
It's
a
like
fairgrounds
Belleville.
thing.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Coles was never a fairgrounds track, but yeah, I mean, hell, I think now like I got into micros and I was a freshman, and now you're the old man of the group.
oh god, yeah.
But
I was
no, and
Damn
then-
50 something.
Yeah, I just stayed in it, and like I said earlier, it was that was the first place I ever went, and the next day we went back to the quarter midget track, and Corey Wine's dad's like, "Where'd you guys go?" And we were like, "Oh, we went to Coles." He's like, "Oh man, you got to go to Macon," and we were like, "Where?" And he's like, "Macon." We were like, "Okay." So I think my first race ever in a micro was at Macon, and there was like 35 cars, and I'm like, man, my dad's like, we're just gonna get you into it, get your feet wet, because my dad's like, I'm not buying you a 125 to sell it in a year and get you a 600.
Right.
And I moved up. I moved up. Derek Odell moved up. My boss, Andy Malpoker, they moved up the same time that I did. And there was 4 or 5 quarter midget kids, and we all moved up at the same time, and we were like the young punks, and we were 14, 15 years old, and now it's like you got Tanks Boy,
Yeah.
Right. What happened? I keep buying, this little restrictor that Zane's driving, man, because he's gonna be a pretty good little dude. And I keep telling Billy, hey, we bought this car. You guys can fund it. I ain't gonna mess with it. And then every other day, I'm like, what's in my cart on Hyper? And Billy's like, I thought you weren't buying anything else. And I'm like, yeah, I can't, man. I'm just trying not to. But
titanium and carbon fiber.
I can't buy that carbon fiber body, man. That's
hard to justify.
That's tough, man. $5,000
Yeah, that's crazy.
for nothing, man. I mean, it looks cool, but we bought a couple lower
you-
pieces, but
When you wrap it, and you
Yeah.
don't even know it's carbon.
Right,
anymore,
exactly.
So,
Yeah.
Exactly.
yeah.
well,
One thing before we hop off here, Brian, I want to touch. You have WFO TV. You
Yep.
want to talk about that? And I know you guys also broadcast every race on from Coles County, right?
So we needed a place to do that, and honestly, it started with we talked about it earlier. Micro sprint racing doesn't draw fans.
Right.
There's really probably just nobody. I don't know the answer to why, but I wanted to get it out there, and we had signed up with some other people to do it, and it didn't pan out, so we decided to do it on our own. I don't know what the future holds for WFO TV. We're exploring other options, keeping that as an option. We have a few different providers that are going to bring us some proposals. So I don't know where all that's going to land at, but we'll see. You know, we'll have an answer on that the next probably a couple of weeks. But it was just mainly us wanting to at least get our product out there and sort of for people to see and maybe bring some other people into the stands and things like that. But yeah, that's kind of the short story on that.
Which a lot of the big races and too that come say to your track or whatever, a lot of them do stream their own stuff too or whatever. So you know, you never know. And and that's another thing that sucks buying. Well, I know that's free, but man, I feel like I've got $6,000 coming out of my account every month because I got so many
different apps and everything.
Right? Yeah.
You know, and that was kind of our thing with WFO TV is we were going to always keep it free and then just sell, you know, sponsor ads or whatever and try to keep the thing funded that way. But, you know, that was also DuQuoin, you know, that helps us with WFO. He had streamed all his own Hart stuff, and he still does a lot of regional sports up in his hometown. He goes, "Hey man, we'll set up some cameras and we'll do it ourselves, and we'll call it this." And I'm like, "Cool." Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know where we're headed with it, and we just kind of get all the cards on the table and then decide which one's the best.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
I just I've waited and waited and waited to buy the S2F, but I hope maybe they'll listen to this, but they've got some work to do because mine never will stream correctly. And I have great internet. And like I guess it was the DuQuoin race, just kept cutting in and out and buffering and this and that. And I was so hot. It was,
DuQuoin has got some challenges sometimes with that just because, I mean, another thing that I've done is I'll do Dirt Vision and Flow and do the outlaw races and stuff like that. I'll work for those guys and because I didn't have enough to do, but it's always a challenge, you know. DuQuoin's tough just because like their board is like in that front concession. So like I know I did the winter races one time, and that was during COVID. So like they gave me a ladder and some ratchet straps, and we're like, we're gonna put you up on top of one of them brick buildings. And I'm like, all right, how to get up there? And they literally gave me a bucket with rope, and I'm like, figure it out. I'm like, all right. So.
And I won't give them too much trouble because I know maybe the streaming in there's just kind of crappy. But that was my first one, and I was like, man,
it's hard to
they roped me into another one, and it ain't working.
I can't even keep track of all the apps. You know.
Yeah.
But
I know they all got to make their money. I understand it, but also everybody gets rid of their satellite TV so they can buy stuff like that and think they're going cheaper. Heck, man, I think I'm up to my same money I got.
I'm
more.
absolutely up to it.
Yeah.
So I mean that kind of sucks, but oh well.
But it's nice sometimes to be able to watch from home.
Oh yeah.
I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, it is.
I can watch Joe B or Rick wherever.
Right.
Joe B runs the true outlaw of outlaw schedules.
Well, that's why I said the S2F. I know it's going to get better because I mean with their 410 schedule,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
they're going to have to, or people are going to be on their ass. I mean. Because, I mean, that's going to be – I think that 410 schedule is probably going to be a pretty big deal.
It's a pretty solid schedule.
Yeah, it is. It's a good opportunity for people.
For mostly, I mean, even say not everyone around here, but the Midwest, that's big.
Yeah.
You know, that's a big deal.
All right, guys, we've rambled for about 2 hours. Are we ready to wrap it up, or we want to keep
I
rambling?
guess no, we're going to be
I want to ask Jeremy and these guys just because what's your Mount Rushmore of micros? Drivers, tracks, people? Just because I've always curious if, I mean, we're all been doing in the game for a while. And
if everybody don't say Belleville,
for track? Yeah.
you're – I mean, if it ain't in your
Well,
top
like you
one
said
or
on
two,
the one deal, the Port City kids, they never raced there.
they never got to see it. So they don't
I
they
might
don't
have went and
understand.
vandalized some of the walls and took it to my shop.
Man,
My grandpa raced there, so it was always my field of dreams.
we always talk about around here are like godfathers of every class of cars because like you'll talk about like Brent Thompson of our modified guys and Timmy Montgomery of our sprint car guys and stuff like that. But and then we always which because I bought his car, so Tony Roney was
He was tough.
He was my guy here.
How many guys have made the prelim night A main with like a side injection Fontana?
Right.
Rich built the motor.
Roney.
And
I remember sitting in, that was the first time I ever went to Chili Bowl. I was in turn 2. There was 25 of us from Farmington area, and he made the A main the Saturday night
Saturday,
main.
yeah, he
And
locked
I remember
in.
we're out there on the track chanting Roni, Roni, and they go to interview him and he can't talk because he's so embarrassed. You know how he gets embarrassed easy, and I'll never forget that. That was neat.
Glad Thomas is racing because now I get to see Tony and Rich every now
Oh, I
and
know,
then.
I know. Yeah, I mean, as far as the micro guys, man, and
If you don't talk about Travis Center,
Yeah.
you know, he
Big
was the
track
first
god.
one to win the 600 Nationals. That was the race. I think that was one of the first $10,000 to win races. And little Trav was a bad man.
I think he was
he
undefeated at the Granite
West
City quarter
Memphis
mile.
area guy.
Yeah. He was.
He's from Osceola, Arkansas.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, a lot of West Memphis, a lot of. But I mean, you know, he could go wherever. And
Right.
yeah,
I think he
beat
never lost
everybody.
a race at the quarter mile at Granite. I mean, he was.
Yeah.
He was fast, man.
Well, I think
That's another business. What does he do? Cotton.
farming. Some sort.
That may be better than trucking.
he's cotton and
'Cause, I
soybean.
mean-
But neither one of them are good as cattle.
No,
you know, I think
he
if
got a bunch.
if you're going to put a driver, we got to start with Joe B.
Well,
Yeah, on mine.
I mean,
mine
it's got to be.
Mine was Joe. I say Joe B, not just because his dad's here, but
Right.
I mean, I always thought of Joe B and like Derek King
and his dad.
and Rick. Rick is definitely an honorable
Yeah.
mention, you know, because that's where Derek learned it all. And I mean, you just got. But Belleville was all of our tracks, but I mean, I think Joe B passed Derek for most wins 2 years ago or something. But I don't know. No one's won more Power I races. And
Yeah.
back in the day, Power I was the high limit and World of
Right.
Outlaws of
Oh,
our
yeah.
area. You know, Belleville.
a regular Sunday show, 75 cars.
All right.
Yeah, my little brother's
Yeah.
first. My little brother's first
was
race was like
unbelievable.
70-something
Yeah.
cars. I'm like, sorry, bud.
But that was normal. That was just your normal thing. I think. What was it? Gateway Racing. Brian Thompson
GRI.
started at, and like the
Yeah.
first two races he had, there's like 40, 70, and I was like, man, this is cool, but this sucks.
Yeah, you made the show. You did something. I mean,
You know,
it was,
back
You can't I mean, I know a lot of people won't even recognize. So, well, I mean, like Scott Sawyer, people know that, but even back in the prime, you had Kevin Bear.
Yeah.
And I still, J-Rock is still one of my favorites. I know he may be a wild child, but he was still one of my favorites. But I mean, and even Stan Yaki wheeled it pretty good back in the day. But we didn't know a lot of those California people there until now, really. I mean,
right.
I don't
Yeah,
think
the
there was
shootout was the only time we'd ever seen
the only
it.
time you would see them. And he was probably the first one, I think, that, unless I'm missing somebody, that would break out to you would know him every year. But yeah, people like that, a lot of these younger kids wouldn't really even know because they're old.
Well, Stallard, you know, I mean, they
Yeah,
were
Scotty
the cars.
Smith.
Yeah, I mean, they were the cars to have. You know, they were.
I hated those cars and hated them.
Yeah, I mean, whenever I came and raced down here, man, you didn't have.
That's why I
Stallard,
hated
you
them,
were
man.
nothing.
Yeah.
And they were the worst cars to get in.
Yeah.
You couldn't fit in them.
Well, now you climb in a micro different than we.
Yeah,
climbed in
yeah.
back
These
then.
kids got it made now, man.
Yeah.
We wedged in there, and like if we'd have really wrecked, we'd have been dead. You wasn't. I was
Unless
in
you're
there.
in a Roni car.
Oh yeah, that's your Roni car. I had a cassette player at that time, and I had a drink holder in there. I mean, I was tuning stuff. That car was awesome. Every once in a while, I just let somebody come in with me.
We thought it was a shock knob, but he was really adjusting. the
Oh
radio.
no.
That's funny.
No, shock knob. He wouldn't have anything like that because he had too much other weird stuff going on the
Yeah.
left.
Yeah, he was. They were creative.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think all those guys would kind of be like,
All
My-
the kids I raced with don't run anymore. You know, like
Yeah,
I said
pretty
earlier,
much.
That's the
about
hard
only
part
one
for
that's in
me
the game
is-
anymore.
that's the tough one.
Is people generally don't stay in micros a long time. A lot of times they move on to other stuff. So I'm thinking of guys who were really good back in the day and hardly any of them race anymore. So it's hard for me to put
And
people
that's
on
the
that.
old school. And I would say nowadays you're awesome. Of course, you can't leave out Steven Snyder because he wins a lot of places. But man, one thing I will say about him, I don't see him really dominate too hard on the smaller tracks.
No.
So I don't know if and rough, man. He likes the rough, beating up everything and stuff like that. But I like, and I don't know him, so maybe everybody don't like him. But I like that Casey Hinton. That kid,
Shelby Hinton?
or Shelby Hinton.
I
I'm
was-
sorry, Casey
Yeah.
Hinton. Shelby Hinton.
Yeah, well, he's driving for Bob East at Chili Bowl. I think
Oh, really?
he drove last year for him too. We showed up to a race at Wayne City. I think one of the ones a couple years ago, and he just straight kicked our ass.
Yeah,
He was-
I like. I mean, he's on it. So
Yeah.
I mean, But I like him.
So here's a question for everybody. I see Kyle Larson's running all 4 classes at the shootout.
I seen that today.
How many A mains does he make?
All of them.
0.
Really?
I've never heard of her. He won't listen, so he won't send me a message later.
I mean, to me, I was just talking about this with my buddy Matt the other Friday night at Topgolf, and he was saying, like, he's hit and miss. You know, like he'll
He's
go to
either gonna be
Millbridge
really
and
bad
either
or-
he'll be.
yeah,
I mean, he's in a Chad boat car, so
Right,
Chad's
yeah.
going to give him a good piece, and he's the best driver in the world. So
Well, that's
but
like-
that just goes to show you that just because you got
It's
the best
luck,
piece-
man.
And
You got
there's only
and the
what,
shootout is such
3 or
a
4
crapshoot.
people that have won, or not won, made all 4 classes.
Right.
I mean,
Google
it's.
won the 3 the one year. Willie won 3 in
No, I don't
classes.
mean win. I mean just
make
lock
the
it in
game.
to 4
Yeah.
is one hell of a.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if he locked in all 4. Wouldn't be surprised if he didn't make a 1. Really, I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
The shootout's a different beast.
It is a
It
different
is.
beast. You never know what's
Yeah,
going to
because everybody's hyping Tyler Courtney up. And, I mean, he's drove before down there and done good, but he zero excuse now.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, but you got to have that luck down there.
Yep.
So I
have
Yeah.
it right.
I mean, the year I ran good, we blew our motor up in practice. I had to borrow a motor, had to borrow motor mounts, had to borrow carburetors. Didn't get any practice. I think we ran second in our heat race and third in the qualifier, and started 4th and finished 3rd. I mean, it was. You gotta have it's gotta fall right. I
It's
mean,
all
right.
got to fall together.
and I mean,
Oh,
the
yeah.
year that Joe B ran 24th to 1st, I mean, it was like, I know that guy. You know, I
Right.
mean, it was
that's when
cool.
everything goes,
Yeah.
it's meant to happen.
And even that race alone, everything had to go his way.
And that's what
I think that motor, we actually got to 300 degrees in a qualifier. We took that motor out, and then we hurt another one. We didn't hurt it in the LCQ. He said, put that motor that got hot back in it. He said, I like that motor the best. And actually bent a rear axle in the LCQ and put a motor in it. We knew we were just going to get start money.
Right.
And then another year, we had a bullet that was on point and let it for 36 laps, and it grenaded itself. So you just never know, man.
Right.
has he ever made all 4 classes?
No.
Is he running 4 this year? Or what's he? Yeah.
I don't know who has made
on
all 4.
I don't like Rick said. I don't think anyone.
I don't
has.
think, yeah.
One all
Maybe.
4?
Yeah, no, that's
No, made all
the
4 in the
show
same
all
year.
4,
Zeb
probably.
Wise did it. I think McDougal's done it.
McDougal's probably done it.
Flood may have done it.
I want to say he didn't make all 4, but I think 3 of them. I think Aiden Purdue made 3 a couple years ago, if I remember correct. But I don't know.
Axum's made what, 3 or 4, 2, maybe it was only 2 a couple years ago. Remember he junked a car after
Yeah.
the finish line.
Yeah,
Yeah, he yard sailed that one.
Yeah, and that took, I don't remember which
He got
car
out
that
of
was.
that
Didn't
car and they ran
RTJ
another
make
car.
3 last year?
yeah, he did make a bunch of them too.
Yeah.
He should have won last year. That sucks.
So I know our next episode, this don't pertain to you guys, but our next episode we're going to record the day after the shootout, right?
Yep,
So
I'll
we're
be coming
gonna recap the shootout, and we really hope to have one of the guys that we've interviewed or we're aligned with some way
It's made the show or
made the show
We
that
haven't
we're
really
going to
picked
try
out
to
our
get in.
guests.
Joby.
Yeah,
That's the only one
That
we
would
haven't.
that would it's going to be tough getting a guy in here on a Sunday. We know that, but we're going to try.
We're going to try to get somebody. We left it out. Well, we have someone we wanted, and that didn't work out. So we're going to try to get something else lined up. If not, we'll just come in here and
Wing it and recap the shootout.
I'll cuss some people and getting pissed off at me.
So,
Something like that.
Yeah. So all of us here, except for Tyler's, going to be at the shootout
I
at some
thought you were
point.
going. That's crazy.
No, man, I'd end up.
He's old. He can't roll them both.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the other thing, man. Those are long days. Those are really long days.
You know, as a fan, I would choose the shootout 100 times over the Chili Bowl. But
See, I like the Chili Bowl because you can show up at 5 o'clock.
Right.
you can, yeah. Now, as a driver, it might be different, but fan point.
I just don't
You're
like
not,
to see
I mean,
him.
I used to buy the Racing when Racing Boys broadcasted it. You couldn't get a better bang for your buck
Yeah.
for
Right.
$100
Yep.
for that whole week. I mean,
I just can't stand the seating and not be able to watch. You know,
Yeah.
it's just hard.
Speaking of racing boys, I reached out to Scotty Cook this week. I think we might get Scotty on sometime.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
yeah,
He hangs out in Farmington quite a bit.
Really?
Yeah. Big O, I don't know, works at the lumber store. I don't know the guy's real name. Him and Big O are good buddies.
That'd
So,
be a good conversation.
It would.
That would be a really good one.
It would. So I think we might get lucky and get him on sometime this winter too.
Yeah. So if I could get down there, I'd get down there. But luckily my wife lets me do all the things I can do. So
You got to pick your battles.
got to pick my battle. You're right. No,
I'm
she's
looking
great,
forward to it.
so.
It's gonna be awesome, and it's gonna be easy. I ain't got to work on all the cars. I'm gonna point
going down
at him
Friday.
and tell Colton work. There you go.
Yeah.
Anything
one
else?
faster.
Anything else anybody wants to hit on before we sign
I
off?
think we're pretty good, man. As we said, we'll post these pictures up of these schedules so you can actually see it rather than just listen to us talk about it. I know everybody's going to give me all kinds of stuff. Oh, man, you guys talked about micros and all that the whole time because it's a shootout. That's why.
All right. Yeah. Shootouts.
We'll
big,
get to-
coming up.
Get to all you people later. It'll be okay, man.
All you door cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're going to have them on.
Yeah, we're
I'm gonna
good.
talk
I mean,
good.
yeah.
I'm going to talk good about modifieds as soon as it starts.
They give dirty right rears too.
Yeah.
So.
We're going to turn this really local Farmington area, Do Run area
I'm still going
at
to
some
give.
point, but
I'm still going to give half of the show to other stuff, but we're going to get a street stock guy in here. I don't even know. I'm just going to go to Farmington's first race.
Just grab
And
him by his collar.
I'm going to pick one dude, something cool about his
Guy
car.
with the biggest
and He's
hammer.
coming in.
well, if we're gonna get street, we got to get Kevin Mosier on. He's top dog out there.
He wins too much. Why don't he needs to do something else? Well, every week
We
he
can
wins.
ask him that.
Yeah, he does. He needs to do something else. He needs to get in something. It has to suck going out there and winning every week with the same people. Come on.
I think you continue
travel?
with the micro thing though. You got to have BJ on.
Oh gosh.
That would be a good conversation.
Shoot.
BJ did message me this week and says, I don't remember one of the rants he was on.
Probably. we just don't talk about it.
But he said, I want to come on as host and I want to interview Booger.
Shit.
Oh, man.
I will light him up.
See, you got to set that up.
Hey, we can make it
He'll
happen.
be over there in the corner. We'll have to pour cold water on her. He'll be in the fetal position by the time I'm done with him.
Shoot. All right, let's wrap it up on that. Thanks, you guys, for joining us on episode 5 of the Dirty Right Rear podcast. This is our biggest episode to date, time, and a lot of breaking news here. We're going 2.5, 3 hours on this. This is going to drop Friday morning during the Tulsa Shootout. So hope everybody gets to watch at some point, and
Hopefully one of our WFO guys wins.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome. So
So
thanks for tuning in, guys. Thanks for joining us. Hope you all had fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
see you guys next time.